Grand Rising, everyone. Grand Rising. I forgot to hit the low latency thing this morning, so there's going to be a lag between me and you. Normally, I set it to low latency, so that there's only 3 or 4 seconds. It's going to be like 30 seconds, which is going to create awkward chat. I do apologize for that, but sometimes shit be like that. So I'm going to be doing 2 documents today. I may do one and then break the live up and do a second one just so that I can fix the latency because that really matters. But we are going to be going over the difference between respect and attraction. It's a 2-part document, and each part of the document has 4. I was going to do this today and tomorrow, but because we're doing ceremony, I'm not going to be able to record tomorrow. And then yesterday, you guys asked for a people-pleasing document. So yesterday afternoon, I sat down and did a little bit of research and typed up some shit on some people-pleasing and trying to do the thing. So there will be part 1 through 4 and part 5 through 8 as questions in the description of the video. And then the people pleasing has 5 skills that you can master also in the description of the video. For those of you who are members of our Patreon, all of that was posted in Chris's Corner this morning, so it's available. So we all hold our comments for 30 seconds. Well, if you do that, that's going to put us a minute behind instead of 30 seconds behind. So when you have your shit posted, excuse me. Oh man, I just spit all over my arm, guys. That's fucking classy. Doing the thing. All right. I have a whole lot of stuff I want to talk about with the latency being an issue, though. I'm just going to jump into the document because we can't have a conversation now. That delay, it sucks. So this first part is the attraction is more than physical. Attraction is more than physical. You guys are, thank you for the bless yous. You guys, story time. I had somebody that I worked with for a long time that everybody that met this chick thought that she was just the smoking hot, amazing, banging thing. And before I met her, the guy that owned the shop that I worked for, she worked at a sister location. He was obsessed with her. The main tattoo artist there was obsessed with her. The other tattoo artists were obsessed with her. Everybody would drive like 45 minutes down just to try to holler at her. And like, she was a little young at the time. She was still an adult, but she's like maybe 19 years old. And I finally have to go down from studio to studio because I'm taking over a management position, and I go down there to meet my staff, and she's there. And like, I walk in the door, I'm like, okay, yeah, she's kind of attractive. You know, that was the thought process because everybody really hyped this up. And the moment she opened her mouth, the moment she spoke, she was less than a paragraph of verbal vomit. And I was like, oh my God, this bitch is fucking stupid. And I don't mean like kind of dumb. I mean like fucking dumb. The fact that natural selection hadn't taken her ass out yet by the age of 19 was astonishing. And it killed it. There was no attraction there. Like the moment she opened her mouth, that shit went right out the window. So attraction is not just a physical stature thing. You can be a really good looking person and be missing a whole lot of other qualities that is necessary for things to develop. That sneeze loosened up snot. I have to blow my nose. Give me 1 second, guys. Oh. All right. I do apologize. All right. So when you look at your partner today, do you genuinely admire the person that they have become? Have you ever felt your attraction change? Not because their body changed, but because the way that you experience them in your day-to-day life has changed. Can you deeply desire someone that you've stopped respecting? I posed this question to the Discord yesterday, day before yesterday, might have even been the day before that, whenever I was creating this document, and had a lot of conversations, and people were like, no, I can't have admiration if I don't have respect. And we've talked about on the podcast a lot about how men would rather be respected than loved. Like we have a base desire to be respected by our partner. It says a lot about admiration. So this is one of those things where I do believe that you can still have admiration without respect, but the attraction will absolutely wane if you cannot have a deep level of respect or admiration for your person. So we talk about attraction like it's mostly visual. Like, hey, I like your face, nice butt. I like your ears. But have you ever looked at a person and thought, meh? In a long-term relationship, physical attraction is only one piece of the puzzle. And make no mistake, we are all aging. Every second, minute, hour, day, our life is slipping through your fingers like sand in an hourglass. You will never be as young, as vibrant, and as beautiful as you are today. An hour from now, you'll be a little bit older. Tomorrow, you'll be a little bit older, and age wins. Time wins. That's the undefeated champ in all of this. Although I did read something yesterday that there are reversal epigenetics. I got that wrong. Reversal of gene expression. God damn it. Why can't I remember what that was? Whatever it was, there's now ways to start reducing the age. They've been doing it since like 2016. They've used it to cure blindness in mice. That's coming. It probably in the next 50 years. I think that the people who are alive right now, there will be people who are currently existing that will live well into like the 130s to 150s if this actually does what it does. Not really relevant. I just thought it was super fucking interesting and I wanted to share. I don't know where I was at. I just lost all train of thought. Okay, so you'll never be as young and as vibrant again in your life as you are right now. You may take care of yourself, lose weight, change your lifestyle, but time keeps pushing forward. And you can look at your spouse objectively and think that's a good looking person while simultaneously having very little desire to sleep with them. Why do you think that is? How can you physically be looking at your person and thinking they're a snack and have zero desire for physical connection? Okay, love. Be safe. This can be confusing for couples because they assume it's the sexual attraction that's changed something, but something may or may not have changed physically. Maybe they gained weight. Maybe they're getting older. Maybe their body changed after having children. Maybe they stopped dressing in the way that they used to and you don't like it. But sometimes their body is definitely not the problem. It's that you've stopped being attracted to the way that they live their life, the way that they carry themselves, the way that their character, right? Whether or not they live with integrity. Attraction can be created by how you experience someone mentally and emotionally. Do you admire them? Do you trust their judgment? Do you have respect? Do you respect how they handle themselves when life gets difficult? Do you experience them as confident, capable, and emotionally mature? Physical attraction is about what you see. Relational attraction is heavily influenced by what you've come to believe about the person that you're looking at. And all of that affects how we experience somebody, whether we want to admit it or not. And this experiencing somebody could be sexy time too. Just saying. So think about the beginning of the relationship. You weren't attracted to a photograph. Unless you met on Tinder, right? That's a whole different conversation. Real shit, guys. I look at dating apps and social media marketing yourself as like an auction house where you're a prime stake trying to get sold to the highest bidder. Yep. Had a whole ass thought about that while I was typing this up. I feel like the Micro Machine Man. So as a species, we are attracted to an experience. Maybe they were funny. Maybe they had a confidence about them when they walked into a room. Maybe she was passionate about what she was doing with her life. Maybe he was incredibly capable and you felt like he could handle his shit. Their appearance mattered, but there was something behind it that we were initially attracted to besides the physical traits. Physical traits are important. There are things that register in our body that we are unconsciously aware of, that we have defects in terms of our genes. So if you're short, you want a tall partner because you know your offspring will be an average size, hopefully. There's things that play into that. The problem is that your physical traits can only sustain an attraction for so long. I really want to go on a tangent here. I do want to go. I'm gonna hold off on that. I might come back to that thought process. This is why attraction can change even when the appearance doesn't. Someone can remain physically stunning while becoming incredibly unattractive through their behavior. You watch them lie, repeatedly break their word, blame everyone else for their problems. The list goes on and on. Eventually, you can look at the same face that you used to be obsessed with and feel something completely different. The face didn't change. Your experience of the person did. You guys are going to hear me say that a lot through this document. And now your person can repulse you. Kind of fucked up when you think about it, but we've all been with someone at some point in our life and thought, oh my God, what the fuck? What am I doing? Right? You guys are going to hear me say your experience of the person, the way you experience the person, the way they experience you. We've told you guys over and over again that your perception of the world is your reality. If you view everything as negative, it will be negative. If you look for opportunity, you will find opportunity. If you view the world through a peaceful, positive, loving lens, you will have peacefulness, positivity, and love. This is your five senses filtered through your RAS makes up less than 1/1,000,000th of reality. And that's your perspective. Somebody else's perspective will be different because of the cognitive bias, confirmation bias, negativity bias, etc., that they live their life through. But all of us only experience 1/1,000,000th of the actual reality of the world around us. And when you think about that, it's fucking insane that we have survived as a species with so little data. Anyways, the face didn't change, your experience of the person did. On the flip side of this, shout out to my fellow ugly people that have strong personality traits and comedy on our side. We're winning because someone can be more attractive to us over time when we watch them. And the physical attraction is overshadowed by who they are. And we can watch them evolve right in front of our eyes. So you may not be physically, what I mean by that is you may not be physically attracted to somebody right now. And you notice an air of confidence about them. They could be ugly, but they handle themselves well in a room. And now they've got a little bit of humor on their side. And you're like, well, they make me laugh and I feel good around them. I'm getting some dopamine and I can deal with the fact that they're a 3 and I normally date a 5, right? Or they're a 2 and I normally date a 4 or whatever your numbers are. Humor goes a long fucking way. People like funny people like that. That's just a thing. So you watch your husband become an incredible father. Something changes in the way that you see him. You watch your wife navigate an unbelievably difficult season with courage, and you admire the fuck out of her because of it. You watch your spouse build something, recover from failure, take responsibility for a mistake, become healthier or learn something new, accomplish something difficult, or finally stand up for themselves. And you look at somebody that you've known for 15 years and go, damn, it happens. It happens. There's a whole lot of experiencing life with somebody that builds or diminishes that attraction. And it's not because they suddenly got hotter. If it's been 15 years, they definitely didn't. They got older, right? But you just watch them become someone that you deeply respect. And admiration with respect is what we're talking about. It matters. There is something deeply attractive about looking across the room and being proud that that motherfucker over there is your person. Pride can do a lot for us, man or woman. Being proud of something hits way fucking different when you've never been told you're proud. To have somebody cup your face and be like, I fucking love you, I'm proud of you. It's like new achievement unlocked. You've now reached God mode. You got a game genie in your Nintendo for all my Gen Xers out there. Furthermore, to see them with that new light brings a whole lot of spark back to things. This is a great opportunity for you to remove yourself from the roommate phase if you're both willing to do the work. If you guys missed the last 3 episodes that I did, it was a whole thing about avoiding the roommate phase. So they say things or they think about things like, I respect how you handled that. I trust your judgment. I admire the way that you treat people. I love watching you with your children. I've watched you get knocked down and you get back up. I know when you tell me something that your word actually means something. That's a fucking huge one. I love who you are. That last one's great. I love who you are. Not the idea of who I believe you could be, not the hope of the potential of the person that I think that maybe one day, if I pray hard enough, you can become. I love who you are. Massive, massive. You can love somebody that you don't like anymore. Being in love with someone and having love for someone are two very different things. You can love somebody because you spent 20 years with them. You can love them because they're the father of your children. You can love the women who stood beside you through some of the hardest years of your life. You can care deeply about someone's well-being while simultaneously losing the admiration and respect for who they are. So my question is, can you continue sexually desiring someone that you no longer admire? What about respect? Oh, I forgot there's a fucking latency issue. I'm just going to keep reading. There's no point in me sitting here for 30 seconds staring at you, staring at me, just to answer a question for me to stare at you, staring at me. I'm going to keep going. When I get to the end of the document, maybe we'll do a discussion. Sometimes the answer to this for me is sometimes yes. Human sexuality is not a one-size-fits-all scenario. People can sexually desire someone that they do not respect. Physical chemistry can be an incredibly powerful thing. Some relationships have terrible relational dynamics and intense sexual chemistry. But how does that hold up beyond a single night sleepover with poor long-term planning? Right? How's that going to look? You guys had the horizontal shuffle one night. You did the horizontal tango. You did the in and out slip and slide one night with no proper planning about what the future looks like. And the sex be great, but if this person's a fuckface or a loser or they're dumb, how are you going to develop a life plan with these people, right? If you're not compatible, you're not compatible. So for a lot of people in a long-term relationship, respect and desire become increasingly intertwined. Because now you don't see, because now I don't just see your body. When I look at you, I see our history, how you treat me, whether I can rely on you, if I'm constantly cleaning up after you, or if you make my life harder or easier, right? These are real things for a lot of people. I see how you treated me when I was vulnerable. I see how you reacted when you were angry. I remember that you did not or did not apologize. All of that eventually walks its way right into the bedroom, like it owns that motherfucker. This is why we keep telling couples, this is why simply telling people to spice things up can sometimes completely miss the problem. Having a spicy night can be a lot of fun. You guys should all do that. Have all the spicy nights that you can fucking do, because one day you're going to have an old ass hip and a bad back, and spiciness is going to look real vanilla and fucking boring. So have the fun, but understand that simply having a spicy night is a temporary reprieve from a very massive issue. You're not really paying attention. You're putting a Band-Aid on something that needs a tourniquet, sutures, maybe surgery, and you're like, little tiny Band-Aid, like the little thin, little tiny Band-Aid. There you go. That's what that is. Maybe the bigger issue here is that you need to learn to respect each other again. Maybe the problem is not that your husband doesn't know how to initiate sex anymore. Maybe you've spent 3 years reminding him how to handle basic adult responsibilities, and you don't want to fuck somebody that you view as another dependent. Maybe the problem isn't that your wife lost her libido. Maybe it's that every time she watches you lose your shit over something small, she thinks you're a fucking child throwing a temper tantrum. Women don't think weakness is sexy, guys. I know that there's a whole movement right now to try to make men into sniveling little fucking crybabies. You guys may find some really crazy far left feminists that think that shit's attractive, but the average women do not want a weak, pathetic, sniveling little bitch. That's just all there is to that shit. If they wanted a feminine experience, they would date women. Some of y'all have actually made that decision because of that. And real shit, I know some fucking ladies out there who are lesbians that are more butch and masculine and strong and fucking in their I'm a man than a whole lot of men out there. And I gotta be honest, guys, it's fucking sad. Anyways, a man can lose attraction toward a woman whose behavior he no longer respects. Maybe every disagreement has become chaos, or she constantly humiliates him in front of other people. Maybe she's abandoned herself and expects him to provide all of her confidence, entertainment, reassurance, and emotional stability. Maybe she's become contemptuous. Maybe nothing is ever her responsibility. Yeah, moving on from that. He can still think she's beautiful, right? That does not mean that he wants her the way that he used to. Somebody in the chat wrote, for the love of God, AJ, clip that. AJ hasn't worked for us in a very long time, like years. Carrie does all of our clipping now. And I really wish I knew what part you were talking about, because at some point somebody will be clipping this. Hopefully they catch whatever it was that you wanted clipped. Again, physical attraction is not necessarily enough. This is also why competence can be attractive. Part 2 of this entire document, parts 5 through 8, is all about competence. So I really want to go ham right here, but I'm gonna just move on. I don't mean some ridiculous version where men need to know how to rebuild an engine and women know how to make the perfect sourdough bread. Competent means that you can handle your life. Competence means that I may not have the answers. I may not know how to do this, but you bet your ass I'm gonna figure it the fuck out, right? That's the difference between I don't know and give me 15 minutes and I'll know everything I need to know, right? You can solve problems, learn, make good decisions, take responsibility. If you don't know something, you figure it out or you ask for help. You don't collapse every single time life becomes difficult and expect your person to fucking rescue the day. There's something attractive about being partner with an adult who can stand on their own 2 feet. This doesn't, real shit, like there's a difference between need and want. I want my person. I don't need them. I can stand on my own. I don't need you for survival. I need you because you bring something to my life that's lacking. Or I want you because you bring something to my life that's lacking. Some of y'all are with people because you need them. And real shit, you need them. You need them financially. You need the comfort. You need the stability they bring. You are not capable of standing on your own 2 feet. I know AJ's been gone for over 3 years, LOL, but I was there for that. Oh, I remember that. Ha! I remember that shit. That's funny. Thank you for that. Throwback. That's funny. Shout out to the chat. Man, we've had some wild times on this fucking podcast. You guys remember when she shot her fucking nose ghost at me? Wild. I lost my spot. So there's something attractive about being partnered with an adult who can stand on their own 2 feet, that does not fucking need you for survival, but wants, in caps locks, wants you in their life. I think we sometimes take independence way too far in relationship conversations. Healthy partnership includes dependence. There will be seasons where one person's going to carry the other person. Illness, grief, babies, job loss, depression, it all happens. Life will fucking kick you in the teeth sometimes. And having somebody to help you take your armor off and guard you while you sleep and rest and eat so that you can put your armor back on and get back out there and fucking kill, like, there's something very beautiful in all of that, right? Being supported during a difficult season, however, should not make somebody unattractive. The issue is when it happens. The issue is when helplessness becomes constant and somehow it's become their identity. You're now viewing them as fucking gross. I would, right? There's a difference between I need you right now and I have made you responsible for me. There's a difference between vulnerability and learned helplessness, between partnership and parenting. Once a romantic relationship consistently starts feeling like a parent-child relationship, attraction goes right out the window. Now you add emotional maturity to the mix, and I can disagree with you without having to manage your reaction. Can I tell you something difficult without you falling apart, exploding, punishing me, or giving me the silent treatment for 3 days? Can you hear you hurt me without immediately becoming defensive, becoming the fucking victim, and then trying to change the conversation about what you did into what I always do wrong? Can you regulate yourself? Can you apologize? Are you capable of changing your mind? These things are fucking sexy. They're attractive. Everybody wants that emotional security in their relationship. It's attractive because it allows me to experience you as someone I can safely be in an adult relationship with. Reliability works both ways. There's an attraction in knowing if they said they'll handle it, it's fucking handled. You don't have to chase them. You don't have to remind them. You don't have to wonder whether or not they're going to show up because they have given you their word. And over the time that you've been together, you know that their word fucking matters. Trust is everything. It's the foundation of the relationship. It's the cornerstone of communication. It's the thing that lets us know that you can go home and have a hard conversation and everything will be good afterwards. It allows us to relax around somebody instead of constantly monitoring their mental well-being. Confidence matters too, but what is confidence? What is arrogance? Is there a difference between the two? Confidence isn't dominating people. It's not ever doubting yourself. It's not pretending that you don't need reassurance. Confidence is being comfortable enough with yourself that your partner doesn't constantly have to convince you that you are worthy. You can receive reassurance without demanding that another person becomes responsible for your self-esteem. You can be challenged without experiencing it as humiliation. You can let your partner shine without feeling diminished by their light, right? Or success. You know, there's a whole lot of, you guys need to define what success means to you, but arrogance is different. Arrogance needs to establish superiority. It struggles with being corrected because because being wrong feels like being beneath someone. It dismisses other people's opinions. It mistakes certainty for competence. And often it needs to be the smartest, strongest, most successful, or most important person in the room. So where confidence can say, I don't know, arrogance often has to pretend that it does. Super chat. Guys, if you want my attention and you want to disrupt this entire shit, send a super chat. I will stop what I'm doing and I will read your super chat. Husband carried us all last year, lost my job. Son was incarcerated, lost her home, and yet my husband stood by me. Grateful for him now. I have a job. Thank you, Joe. Shout out to Joe. You're a real motherfucker. That's what being a man is supposed to be. When everything looks bleak, you put your back against the wall and you swing until you can't fucking lift your arms anymore. Joe did that. Joe, you're a man. You're a good man. I appreciate you, Joe. Jenny, become a member for 40 months early access. Hello, brother from another mother. You've been killing it with the solo content. I love it. Thank you for that. It means a lot. Means a lot. I'm going to read that last thing again about arrogance and confidence because there was a part of me for a long time that struggled understanding the two. And I really want to make sure that you guys are understanding this. Arrogance is different. Arrogance needs to establish superiority. It struggles with being corrected because being wrong feels like being beneath someone. It dismisses other people's opinions, makes mistakes certainty for competence, and often needs to be the smartest, strongest, most successful, or most important person in the room. Where confidence can say, I don't know, arrogance often has to pretend that it does. This is where people fake it. They talk out of the side of the neck. They pretend, they try to put on a good show. And a lot of people, if they believe this person is competent, they will mistake that knowledge as factual. They will take their word. And now you've built a reality around a lie. They didn't know what they were doing or what they were talking about. Now we're going to have issues when all of this shit comes to the forefront of things, right? Yeah. Yep. Excuse me. Moving on. Guys, you do not have to become some sort of perfect self-improvement robot that wakes up at 4:30 every morning, runs 10 miles, makes 7 figures, reads 50 books a year, and never has a bad day. That's just not, it's not feasible for 99% of the population. At some level, all of that personal growth stops being about reaching goals and becomes mental masturbation. It becomes superiority. You are performing. What I'm talking about here is being engaged with your own life. Because one of the things that can slowly kill attraction is watching someone completely abandon themselves and then expect the relationship to fill in whatever remains. Kindness also matters. Sometimes people hear words like confidence, ambition, competence, self-respect, and start imagining attraction as someone who dominates a hierarchy. Oh, thank God, because fuck 4:30 a.m. I'm up every day at that time. Yep. Can't sleep. Team no sleep. But kindness can be deeply attractive. Watching your spouse treat a waitress with respect, watching how patient they are with your children, seeing them help somebody in need, believing that like when no one's watching, that's character. For those of you who don't know what character is, I was in a halfway house when I got out of prison, and I had to do these little classes. And the only thing that I remember from that entire time, other than having to ride my bike to and from work because it was Florida and it's hot outside and I hate it, was we had a counselor there who said, he asked 40 people in a room, all of them were men, how do you define character? And no one raised their hand. Not a single person was able to answer that question, including me. I don't fucking know. And the last thing I want to do is announce how fucking stupid I am in front of 40 other men, some of whom I deeply respect. Like, that's, so I shut the fuck up. And he said, character, what defines your character is what you would do if no one ever knew you did it. Would you return the wallet you found on the ground and with all of the money in it? Right? Like that speaks a lot about who you are. Would you take the thing? Would you do the dirty deed? That defines your character. It's been 25 years and I still remember that speech. So your character matters, right? What seeing somebody do something when no one is watching. Watching them care for an aging parent, seeing them remain decent when being an asshole would have been so much easier. Self-mastery is an incredibly attractive thing. Humor matters, right? The ability to laugh, the ability to make others laugh. In situations where others and ourselves are having a bad day, somebody being able to lighten the mood goes a long, long way. Are you able to look at situations and see the absolute fucking absurdity in it and laugh versus getting upset? Can you take a joke? Does every mistake become a crisis? Every slight or inconvenience is now the end of the world. Why would anyone want to be with somebody who thinks that smiling and laughing is a bad thing? Long-term relationships carry a lot of weight: mortgages, children, death, aging parents, careers, health problems, money, sex, and responsibility. Being with someone who can still find some fun inside of all of that makes life worth living, guys. Then there's ambition. Ambition does not have to mean money. Maybe your ambition is building a business. Maybe it's raising really good fucking kids. Maybe it's learning something. Maybe it's becoming healthier, creating art, building a garden. Maybe it's just becoming a better partner. The attractive part isn't necessarily the achievement. The thing that attracts people to ambitious individuals is movement. It's watching the continuous flow of things in their life and them refusing to become stagnant because they have comfort. Everybody wants growth. We all want more. Some of you may be happy or content where you're at. I have a lot of joy in my life. My life is fucking incredible, but I'm not where I want to be. I have joy. I have purpose. I have fulfillment. My life is fucking amazing, but I want more. Maybe it's greed. Maybe I'm gluttonous. Maybe I'm someone who will never be satisfied with what I have. Could be a thing. I may work until the day that I am no longer capable of doing so and then die right afterwards. I don't know. But I don't believe in enough of anything. I want it all. I want all of it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That ambition and that drive of wanting more, I got to be honest, is I think it's what attracts people to me because they see what I've accomplished and from how little I had to accomplish it, right? I don't know. So again, it's movement. It's refusing to be stagnant. But what if you feel like you have to constantly earn your spouse's attraction? If that's you, I would really, really deep dive your relationships. If you feel like you have to constantly earn their attraction, that's not a good thing, guys. Like, that's just not the right relationship. Guys, we're going to go through periods where we're not at our best. Seasons, downfalls, shortcomings, whatever you want to call it. This is normal life shit. Your person should be there with you through all of those things and help carry you through it, like Joe did, right? Marriage should have enough depth to survive those seasons when your person is not impressive, right? The point isn't becoming extraordinary so that your spouse doesn't stop wanting you. The point is that attraction is influenced by far more than your appearance, and your behavior fucking matters. How you conduct yourself is everything. It will impact your life, the trajectory of it, and how your person and the people around you see you. We have no control over aging, right? We talked about that earlier. Time fucking always wins. But your character, that's yours. You get to choose how you show up every day. You get to choose whether or not your word matters. You get to choose the way that you conduct yourself in stressful moments. You get to make a decision to respond to something instead of react to it. You get to choose to work on mastery of self. You can spend 10 to 30 minutes every single morning meditating, giving gratitude. We talk about this in the church server from time to time. I have, this is my daily necklace, right? This is not my mala. I have a mala that has 108 beads on it. It is a prayer mala. And every morning when I do my gratitude, I try, most of the time unsuccessfully, to go to hit every single one of those mala beads and give a piece of gratitude for the things that I am grateful for. It's real fucking hard to make it through 108 things that you're grateful for every day because you're looking for the really big moments. You're looking for the, I'm grateful that my kids are healthy. I'm grateful that my wife still thinks I'm sexy. I'm grateful for the fact that the mortgage is paid. You're looking for the big things. You guys don't think about things like, I'm grateful that I can still put my shoes and socks on because I'm not in pain today. I'm grateful that I have enough money that if my kid wants to snack, I can get them that snack. I'm grateful for. You guys should be looking at the really small, insignificant things because the small, insignificant things make up the entirety of your fucking existence. I asked this to the church server the other night. If you woke up tomorrow and all the things that you took for granted was gone, the things that have object permanence that you are not announcing your gratitude for, would you miss all of those things? It's something really to think about. So you can journal about this line if you want. I'll read it once. Somebody can put it in the chat. When my partner experiences me as a person, what am I giving them to admire? You guys need to become someone that your spouse can still look across the room at after everything that's life has thrown at you and be like, that's my motherfucker over there. That's my woman. And I am fucking proud to have that title, right? You need to become someone that has that. And both of you need to have that. It can't be a one-sided thing or you have a very unbalanced situation. All right. I really want to interact with the chat, guys, but it's got that lag. I'm going to read a couple of comments just so that I can read the comments, and then we'll get into part 2 of this. Somebody sent 30 flower jewels. Thank you for that. I'm grateful for the most basic of things. You should be. You should be. Clean water, a roof over my head. How about the fact that you don't have to go to a well to get that clean water? How about you have water that you don't have to boil? You can turn a light switch on and there's artificial light, right? Like you don't have to operate in the darkness. It's crazy what you can find to be grateful for when you really sit back and think about what you have in life. I have a wooden beaded bracelet. I do the same thing with, hell yeah. I'm grateful for Maslow's very basic hierarchy of needs. Without them, the rest don't matter. That's also true. All right. So the chat's not moving very quick because the chat's not doing its thing today because of the latency. 135 people vibing with me today. Thank you guys for being here. This is going to be, we're only on part 2 and we're already 40 minutes in. This is an 8-part document. And then we have a whole other document to do. So this is going to be a long live stream today. I will not be live tomorrow or Monday. Like today, after I'm done working podcast stuff until we get back on Tuesday. So I'm trying to make this matter. All right. Part 2, competence is attractive. It's not about knowing how to do everything. It's about how you handle yourself when you don't know how to do the thing. Can you figure things out? Are you capable of making a decision? Can you take responsibility for something without needing to be managed all the way through it? If you say, I'll take care of it, Does your partner remove it from their mental load, or do they still have to check on whether you actually did it? That's competence. In a long-term relationship, your partner is not just looking at you, they're looking at the experience of what it's like to build a life with you. Guys, I'll take care of it. Does your partner get to remove it from their mental load, or do they still have to check on whether you did it or not? I read something the other day. It wasn't a study. It was an article. I don't remember who wrote it or I took away a snippet. I found my golden nugget. I retain that. So I'm going to regurgitate that to you. This is not Chris information. When you have somebody in your life that you delegate responsibilities to, and then you have to go behind them to make sure that you did it, or you have to remind them to do it, or weaponized incompetence, as much as I fucking hate that term, I know that some of you believe that's the thing. Maybe your partner's not competent, whatever the case may be, that thing is not handled to the way that needs to be handled for it to at least be acceptable to you. You never really delegated that thing. You delegated the physical aspect of that thing, but holding on to the mental stress of whether or not it got done doesn't tell your nervous system that it's been delegated. You are still stressed the fuck out over that thing never getting done or how it's going to get done. So even if it does get done and it takes 3 days, your nervous system is in a fucked up state for those 3 days until it gets done and you get to check on it. At that point, your brain and your nervous system does not believe that that thing has been handled yet, which is why so many people fight over folded towels, the dishwasher, the dishes, all of the stupid bullshit that's not worth a fight. It's because you pass something off. Your person has shown you that they are not competent at these things in the past. And you know that even though that thing is gone, you have to go back and either redo it, check on it, or whatever. That also speaks to your level of need for control or your inability to release and let go. We're not getting into that, but that was a very interesting thing to understand when it comes to the nervous system. So there's something attractive about being with somebody that you can rely on. Someone who notices, right? Someone who does or says or recognizes what needs to happen and then handles it. Someone who can make a decision, own the outcome, admit when they're wrong, adjust if they're wrong, fucking course correct to get to where you're supposed to be going. You do not have to know everything. You have to be willing to figure shit out. Sometimes the most competent thing that you can do is admit, I don't know, but I will figure it out. I can't and I don't know are those phrases that makes my fucking skin crawl. I can't means you haven't learned how yet. You haven't tried. You haven't failed enough to learn the muscle memory to figure out how to do the thing. Maybe you haven't learned the algorithm. Maybe you haven't, whatever. I can't just means that you haven't failed enough to win. I don't know. There's no reason for that phrase to ever come out of your mouth if you have your phone on you, because you can very quickly research whatever it is that you need to know, and within seconds, figure that the fuck out. You may not be a master at it, right? You may still have the I can't do that, but you no longer have the I don't know, because now you have a YouTube video showing you how to do that thing. Now you need to do it. You need to fail at it. Anything worth doing is worth doing poorly at first. Fail and fail and fail again. As long as you don't quit, eventually you will have that shit. They say it takes 10,000 hours to master something. 10,000 hours to master something is mastering it at your current ability level. For those of you who like to use that phrase, you know that it takes 10,000 hours to get a medical degree. Let that sink in, right? Competence is less about knowing and more about agency. Something happens and you respond. The water heater breaks and you don't know anything about water heaters. Cool. You can call someone. You can research it. You can get estimates. You solve the problem. There's an issue at your kid's school. You make the call. There's something wrong with the finances. You sit down and figure out what's happening. You fuck something up. You own it, fix it, and move on. Your partner doesn't need to activate you. In some cases, they don't even need to know what's going on, because you are that competent at just figuring this shit out. Hey, the water heater broke earlier. There's a little bit of water in the garage. It's drying. That's why the door's open. I got it taken care of. Oh, shit. It broke. You fixed it already? Don't have to worry about it. Competent, right? God, Guys, there's so much security in that. There is so much security and knowing that you have a competent person in your life that if you go, hey, can you handle this, that it gets handled, it changes the way that you live your life. Not just the way that you experience your person. That type of security changes the way that you fucking exist. Super chat. The Miss C90. Telling our kids, ooh, that's a good question. Let me Google that real quick when they ask something we don't know. Yeah, you know what? Aside from you not doing the I don't know thing and actually doing the research, you are teaching your kids in that moment how to be self-sufficient. How to, well, if mom doesn't know, she's going to Google it. I can just Google it. You're teaching them to figure things out on their own. This is how you raise competent people. It's your kids are going to do what they see you do. It's a mimicry thing. That's how they learn to survive as moving into adulthood. So good on you. Good on you for that. And this applies to both men and women. A man can absolutely experience his wife as more attractive because she's capable. She can handle herself. She manages her responsibility, has good judgment. Discernment is fucking huge. She isn't helpless every time something becomes difficult. A woman can experience the same thing with her husband. He sees something that needs to happen and he takes care of it. He doesn't wait until she creates a list, explains every steps, reminds him multiple times, and then has to fucking congratulate him for getting it done. Attaboy. Give you a little pat on the back. Let me give you a mental high five because you're acting like an adult, you fucking man-child. That shit bothers me. There's a difference between giving gratitude and words of affirmation and doing something like taking the trash out and be like, I took the garbage out. You see that? Did you see it? Because I need you to recognize that I did something for you that you were bitching about for 45 minutes. Yep. This is where the idea of helping around the house sometimes misses the point. If you live there, you're not helping. You're participating. There's a difference. If you're raising children and they're your children, you're not babysitting, you're parenting. There's a difference. If these are your bills, appointments, responsibilities, messes, animals, and family, constantly waiting for your partner to tell you what needs to be done puts them in a management position. Some of you might have power struggle kinks. I'm not shaming you guys. Do your thing. If that's what you're into, that's what you're into. I don't judge. It is what it is. If that's how you enjoy living your life, this isn't a problem for you guys. However, most couples don't want to live in like an inmate warden manager subordinate situation. That lifestyle of having to constantly delegate and monitor and manage feels like you're raising a teenager. And if you've got kids already, you don't want your spouse to be that. So there's a difference between doing something and owning something. Imagine your partner says, can you handle getting the kids ready for school tomorrow? You say yes, but when it's time to get them ready for school, you have to ask, what time do I have to pick to get them up? What should I pack for their lunch? Where are their shoes? Does she need her folder? What time do we have to leave? Technically, you are doing it. You are physically doing the thing, but your partner is still fucking managing everything. They've outsourced the labor, like I said earlier, while retaining the mental responsibility. Competence means that you can handle something and they can trust you to carry it. What about when incompetence is one partner refusing to allow the other person to become competent, right? Because that's absolutely a thing. They say, I want you to take more initiative than you do, and it's immediately not like that. You did that wrong. They load the dishwasher wrong. They fold the towels wrong. They pack the kids' lunches differently. They solve a problem in a way that is different than the way that you would solve it, and now it's an issue. We hear this a lot. We get emails every fucking day that's this exact thing. I ask them to do these things, and now they're doing it, and it's not enough. I've moved the goalpost. I view them as less than because they didn't do it to my standard, whatever. And there's so much resentment and contempt built up that people are not seeing all of the amazing things that their partner does for them. They're fixating on the bullshit that they shouldn't be fixating on. Things that they should be grateful for, right? Eventually, that person's going to think, why the fuck would I help you? All you're going to do is bitch and complain about what I do anyways. So I'm just not going to do it. Let you bitch and complain, and you can just do it yourself to begin with. We're keeping score. We're being petty, vindictive. Like, this is a thing. You then get people to go, well, that's weaponized incompetence. Is it weaponized incompetence, or is it that I'm tired of hearing you fucking bitch and complain about shit, so I'm just not going to do it? If you're going to bitch and complain anyways, what's the point? Could be that you're controlling, right? It could be that they simply don't do things the way that you do. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means that their version of right is different than your version of right. It could be a whole lot of things, right? It could be a whole lot of things. But ultimately, what's really happening here is that you are choosing conflict instead of gratitude. The towels got folded wrong. They're still in the closet. You can still get them out. They still dry you off. They don't stink. They're right where they're supposed to be. They may not be folded or rolled the way that you like looking at them. Your fucking towels are clean. They're not musty. They are in the closet where they go, and they still operate as a towel is supposed to. But I have resentment because that's not my way. That's control, guys. That is for real, like obsessive compulsive control. It's not enough that you did it. You have to do it to my expectations. If you guys have been married, let's say you're both in your 40s. You started dating in your 30s, you're married at your 40s, and you guys move in together at like 37, 36, whatever, 25. Up until that point, you both folded your towels the way that you folded your towels. Maybe you fold it in squares. Maybe you fold it in Ranger rolled shit. Who the fuck knows? But the way that you did it is the way that you did it. And nobody has ever told you it's wrong up until that point because that's your life and that's how you like it. Then you get married and now there's a fucking problem over the towels because one of you's not willing to relearn how to do the thing that the other person does, and it's a fucking problem. You hear how fucking stupid that sounds? Like when you really break it down to that level, it's really fucking stupid. All right. So you cannot demand that your partner take ownership while requiring them to execute everything exactly the way you would. The outcome matters. If the outcome matters, communicate the outcome. If the method doesn't matter, then get the fuck out of the way and let them do it. Otherwise, one person becomes the permanent manager and the other person becomes the permanent subordinate, and eventually both end up resenting the roles that they created. Competence needs to be separated from control. A competent person doesn't need to be in charge of everything. Someone who needs to control everything may struggle to delegate, trust another person's judgment, or tolerate a different method. Competence says, I've got this. Control says, only I can do this correctly. And if you don't do it my way, you're wrong. Those are not the same thing, guys. Control will destroy attraction. It'll do it just as fast as helplessness. Nobody wants to be parented by their spouse. If every decision gets questioned, every mistake becomes evidence that you can't be trusted, every task has to be completed according to your partner's specifications, you are not creating partnership. You have created a hierarchy. Then the controlling partner complains that the other person doesn't take initiative anymore. Why the fuck would they? You're in control. You've taught them that initiative creates conflict. You have trained them. That's why both people need to examine their contribution to the relationship. Maybe your partner genuinely is not dependable. Or maybe you've become so controlling that they've simply stopped trying. Maybe you're constantly reminding them that because they repeatedly forgot. Maybe you're constantly reminding them because they repeatedly forgot. Or maybe you're reminding them 30 minutes after asking because you can't tolerate not knowing exactly when they're going to do it. Maybe you're rescuing them because they refuse to handle the consequences. That's a whole other conversation in itself. Or maybe you're rescuing them because watching them struggle makes you uncomfortable. How do you expect your kids to learn how to ride a bike if the first time they fall over, you refuse to let them fall again? Right? You can't learn the thing for the person. This is not the Matrix. We're not getting plugged in and instantly learning Kung Fu. It does not work that way. It takes getting the reps in. It takes failing, falling off the fucking bike, burning your hand when you're cooking, getting bacon grease in your belly button because you're cooking with no shirt on. I've had that happen. It sucks. Right? So like I don't make bacon without a shirt on anymore because now I have a barrier between my belly button. I definitely don't do it with no pants on because the belly button was enough to learn that lesson. I don't cook. It's Peach's job. So rescuing can create incompetence also. If every time your partner struggles, you step in and solve it, they never get a chance to experience themselves solving difficult things. Sometimes love means helping. Sometimes love means saying, I know you can handle this, go figure it out. And then letting them figure it out. Guys, if you're parents, this is the way it needs to be with your kids. If you can't figure out how to do that thing, you don't get that thing. I tell our kids this shit all the time. They want to play the game and they can't figure out how to do it. Don't play the game. I'm not coming to save you or to teach you. Read the fucking instructions on the screen. If you're not willing to do that, don't play the game. I don't want to hear it. Oh, you want some cream cheese and can't open the fucking container? I don't know what to tell you. You're 7 and 8 years old right now. If you can't open the jar of pickles, you don't get pickles. If you can't open the cream cheese, you don't get cream cheese. If you can't figure out how to work the fucking air fryer, you don't get a bagel. It doesn't impact my life one way or the other. I bet you if you want that shit bad enough, you'll figure it out. If you constantly do everything for them, you were going to raise a 40-year-old incompetent stay-at-home son. Right? That shit's not cute. You're failing your children that way. Let them figure it out on their own. Same thing applies to decision making. Being decisive can be attractive, not because one person should make every decision, but because constantly forcing your partner to carry every decision is fucking exhausting. What do you want for dinner? I don't care. What do you want to do this weekend? Whatever you want to do. Which hotel should we book? Doesn't matter. What do you think we should do about this? I don't know. Once in a while, who cares? Not a big deal. Once in a while going, I've made 50,000 decisions since noon and I'm exhausted. And I will eat nothing, or I'll eat Spam, or I'll eat sushi, or I'll eat nothing. I don't give a fuck because I'm done making decisions today. If you put Skittles and milk and hand it to me, that's what I'm eating right now. Because fuck all of this. Every once in a while, that's totally acceptable. Sometimes it's okay to completely just check out, right? Once in a while, who cares? But if that's your response to everything, your partner isn't experiencing you as easygoing anymore. They're experiencing you as another person they have to take care of. You're a dependent. They are responsible for you, right? So have an opinion. Make a suggestion. Take some responsibility for the direction of your shared life and be willing to be wrong. Indecision is sometimes driven by fear of making the wrong choice. If I never choose, nobody can blame me for the outcome. But now my partner is carrying the risk of every decision. On the food thing, I know some of y'all don't want to pick dinner, or you argue. Well, I want this. Well, I want this. What do you want for dinner? I don't know, Five Guys. Well, I don't want that. Well, you asked me what I fucking wanted and I want a cheeseburger. If you didn't want what I was going to suggest, you should have thrown out 3 suggestions and let me pick one and you could have got what you wanted. I would have believed I still had a choice of what we were having and we could have just fucking made a plan that way. Sometimes you're not going to agree on dinner. This is the way it's going to be. That is okay. Competence says, based on what we know, I think this is the best move. What do you think? That's very different from we're doing this because I said so. One is initiative with collaboration. The other is control. When you repeatedly have to manage another adult, you can start experiencing them differently. You're not just their lover. You're their reminder system, their alarm clock, their calendar, their financial planner, their motivational coach, their emotional regulator, their cleanup crew, and a consequence buffer. It's difficult to maintain erotic energy towards someone that you increasingly experience as your dependent. That doesn't mean that helping your spouse kills attraction. Sometimes we all need help, and you should be a team. If your spouse has to constantly manage your emotional reactions, they're still managing you. Hold on a second. Peach has just asked me to do something. I don't think that she realizes I'm live. Lost my whole train of thought. If your spouse has to constantly manage your emotional reactions, they're still managing you. You have to find the right tone, the right time, and the right wording. They have to soften everything enough that you don't shut down, rage, punish, threaten, or turn the entire conversation back onto them. Eventually, they stop telling you things, not because they aren't problems, but because addressing the problem creates another problem, and they also have to manage that. Guys, do the check-ins. Do the fucking check-ins. Learn to communicate. If you guys do them early enough and often enough, you don't have to do them anymore. You learn how to effectively communicate with your person. You learn how tones and inflection and body language and the way that you word things become problematic, and you can learn to navigate around that. They can learn to navigate around your softness or your hardness or whatever the case may be, and then you can start having effective communications. Do the fucking check-ins. As much as it's important to learn how to communicate, it is not your responsibility to manage the way that they comprehend, right? You can't control the way that other people perceive you. You can't control if they believe that you're intimidating or if you're scary or whatever story that they have told themselves about you. You can only focus on becoming a better communicator, becoming competent, becoming the best version of yourself, and hoping that they're able to update their firmware and recognize that you've evolved and changed. So, competence is attractive because it creates trust. I can bring something to you, I can depend on you, I can leave something in your hands, and I don't have to worry about things getting done. You'll figure it out, and I don't have to carry it anymore, right? That doesn't mean that you'll always get it right. Competent people fuck things up all the time. The difference is what happens next. They learn, they adjust, they repair. They don't spend 6 hours explaining why the mistake technically wasn't their fault, right? That's also reliability. Reliability builds trust, and reliability builds trust, and that changes how we experience our partner. We don't have to monitor everything, double check everything, or wonder whether something actually got handled. We can relax. Being able to relax around your partner also matters to attraction more than some realize, right? I tell you guys all the time that I believe that women control the intimacy in a marriage, a relationship. You guys, the feminine energy in the relationship determines that intimacy totally. However, the masculine is supposed to provide safety and security and a place where you can thrive in your feminine. When we fail to provide that security, that safety, and that environment, it's natural that you fail to provide the intimacy. So it is a two-way street. So that matters, right? I don't remember where I was going with that, so I'm just going to wrap that up. Attraction is not simply looking at somebody and thinking you're hot. Long-term attraction is more like looking at your person and thinking, I trust you to operate beside me in life. Don't get that mistaken with functionability, right? Like we went over all that yesterday. I'm going to just move on. When life gets difficult, does your partner experience you as someone that they can lean on or as one more thing that they have to carry or fix, right? I'm kind of new. Where can I find the info on the check-ins? If you go to tobebetter.com and click on the resources tab, we have courting questionnaires, shadow work, a document on cutting people out of your life so that you can really weigh those decisions before you do it. We have a check-in that says, have you checked in lately? And then we have another one that says kids check-ins, because we've developed one that you can use as a parent to learn to talk to your younger, 10, 11, 12, teenage-year-old kids. It's about communicating effectively. So all of that's on our website. And if you guys really want more information on how to do the check-ins, the PDF is there, but we have an entire playlist on YouTube that you can go and watch. There's multiple videos that talk about the check-ins. It talks about I versus you statement. It talks about repair. It talks about flooding. These terminology may not be familiar to you, but all of that information is very important to have, and we have hours of content on all of that. So I would check that out too. She's not responding to me, and it's making me anxious. So part 3 of this is when your partner becomes someone you have to parent. Guys, remember, if you would like to disrupt my reading and get my attention, send a super chat. So there's a point where helping your partner stops feeling like partnership and starts feeling like parenting. You wake them up because they'll sleep through their alarm. You remind them about appointments that they made for themselves. You tell them when bills are due, you manage the calendar, you clean up the messes that they keep leaving behind. You chase them about the things they said they would handle. You motivate them to do the basic shit they already know needs to be done. It's parenting. That is absolutely parenting. Then there's the emotional side of it. You have to regulate their mood before they can discuss anything difficult, or you can discuss anything difficult for that matter. You have to choose the exact right wording so that they don't fall apart, explode, sulk, or shut down. You manage the timing of every conversation. You calm them down. You assure them. You reassure them. You make excuses for them. You rescue them when their choices create problems. At some point, you're not loving this person anymore. You're fucking managing their life. You are nothing more than a glorified personal assistant. Let that sink in. It's hard to maintain erotic energy towards someone that you increasingly experience as a dependent. If I have to remind you to pay the bills, to call the doctor, to clean up your mess, to get work done on time, to handle your responsibilities, manage your emotional reactions, it becomes difficult to flip a switch later and suddenly go, oh, I want that. What a great life. Oh, baby, oh, baby, oh. Womp, womp, womp. It's real hard to go from that to viewing your person as capable or competent, right? Like, you've already established that they're none of those things. That carries the attraction, right? This doesn't mean that dependence is always unattractive. Marriage includes dependence from time to time. We covered that. However, it's important to remember that this is one of the reasons that we build relationships in the first place. The distinction here is whether your partner is temporarily unable to carry their usual weight or whether they've handled the responsibility for their life over to you. There's a huge difference between I'm struggling right now and I need a little bit of help, and you're now responsible for making sure that I function. One creates an opportunity for someone to support. The other eventually creates resentment. We've talked about resentment a lot over the last 2 weeks. This dynamic can sneak up on people. The dependent partner doesn't always set out to become dependent. Sometimes they slowly stop doing things because the other person always handles it. Sometimes they become afraid of making mistakes. Sometimes they get used to being rescued. Sometimes they learn that if they just wait long enough, eventually their partner will just do it for them. But the managing partner can participate in creating this dynamic as well. Maybe you're genuinely frustrated that your spouse doesn't take initiative, but every time they do, you correct them. They load the dishwasher wrong. They pack the kids' bags wrong. They choose the wrong route. We went over all of this. And you go, fine, you know what? I'll fucking do it myself. Then you become furious that they never take initiative. That's how an over-functioning and under-functioning dynamic can develop. The more one person takes over, the less the other person does. The less they do, the more the other person feels forced to take over. Eventually, the manager thinks I have to do everything, while the managed partner thinks nothing I do is ever good enough. And both statements can absolutely be fucking true. This shouldn't become a conversation about one partner being useless. Sometimes they absolutely are avoiding responsibility. Sometimes the person isn't allowing them to carry responsibility in a way that feels like it's theirs, and both sides need to put that shit under a plate and examine it under a microscope. I touched on this already, but I'm going to hit it again. There are control issues here as well. Sometimes people call it competence when what they really mean is I need everything done my way. That's not competence, that's control. You can't parent someone into competence by controlling every move they make. At the same time, the dependent partner doesn't get to hide behind, well, you always take it over. If your spouse is controlling, address that. But you still have to take responsibility for your own life. Set the alarm. Know when your appointment is. Handle your bills. Clean up your mess. Do what you said you would. Learn the skills. Carry the consequences, guys. A capable adult can't outsource their entire life and then complain that their partner treats them like a child. If you want to be treated like an adult, you need to fucking behave like one. Real simple. $163 people, guys. That's a new record for these live streams in the mornings. Love that. Absolutely love that. Thank y'all for rocking with me. This applies emotionally as well. Your spouse shouldn't have to constantly regulate your nervous system for you, support you, sometimes comfort you, absolutely, co-regulate you, of course. But if every difficult feeling becomes a problem that they have to fix, you've made them responsible for your inner world. Maybe you're angry. You're allowed to be angry, right? That shit's normal. It's surface level. There's definitely something more going on beneath the anger, but anger is normal. That's the first alert system that something's not right. Your partner should not have to walk on eggshells, however, until your anger passes. That means you are emotionally unregulated. You lack self-mastery. Maybe you're insecure. You can ask for reassurance, but your partner should not have to spend 3 hours proving that you're worth everything. Maybe you're overwhelmed, ask for help, but help shouldn't become a permanent transfer of ownership. Support says, I'm here for you, while parenting says, I am responsible for you. Fucking difference, guys. And long-term attraction needs partnership. It's two adults, not two perfectly independent people who never need anything. That's unrealistic. We should be able to lean on each other. The problem is when one person becomes the permanent caretaker and the other becomes the permanent dependent. I have hit this over and over and over again because this is one of the most sent in email things that we get. Believe it or not, we get more, how do I get them to help me around the house than you guys would believe? How do I get them to be more present? How do I get them to talk more? Right? Like you guys hand away your agency or you take on more than you should and then wonder how to get them to take some of that responsibility back. Yeah, it's a lot. That's why I keep hitting on it. It's such a prevalent thing. It's also kind of crazy to think about that sometimes the managing partner can become attached to being needed. Being the one who handles everything can become part of your identity. I'm the responsible one. I'm the strong one. I'm the one that everybody comes to when there's a problem because they can depend on me. That can feel fucking powerful, but it will become exhausting and resentment will absolutely build up. Sometimes people say they want a more capable partner while unconsciously sabotaging their partner's attempts to become one. Over the last couple episodes, we've talked real hard about sexy time. A huge killer for sexual intimacy is the parent-child dynamic. You don't want to fuck someone that you've spent all day nagging, right? Whether it's been you the one that's been nagging or they experiencing you nagging them. You probably don't feel wildly attracted to someone who's been constantly nagging either, right? So like that clears that up. One person feels burdened, the other person feels diminished, then both wonder why the sex has changed. The answer isn't always libido, hormones, or age. Sometimes the relationship dynamic itself has become the problem. I don't like having my phone sitting there. So how do we change it? The dependent partner has to start reclaiming responsibility, not because their spouse told them to, but because adulthood requires it. Pick something and own it. And own it to completion, right? The bills, the school schedule, the appointments, the laundry, the budget, your health, your calendar, your work, your emotional regulation, your consequences, and then follow through long enough that your partner can actually see that there's changing being taken effect. That they no longer feel like they need to monitor everything that you do, right? We're establishing new behavioral patterns and new trust. The managing partner has to work too. They have to stop reminding unless it's actually necessary. Stop rescuing every time something goes wrong. Stop correcting every imperfect method. Stop doing things because it's faster. And then resenting the fact that you had to step in and do the shit. Sometimes the dishwasher gets loaded wrong, so what? Sometimes an appointment gets missed, depending on who that impacts. If it's your person that misses the appointment, let them deal with the consequences of that shit. You're an adult. I don't need to remind you that you have to brush your teeth every day. Like, be a fucking adult. That's how adults learn. Consequences. Pain and embarrassment are the two best teachers. Having to make that phone call to whatever appointment you miss and be like, yeah, sorry, I missed the appointment. I forgot. I wouldn't want to do that. It shows that I'm incompetent. It shows that I am not capable of managing my existence. That shit's embarrassing to me. Might not be to some of you guys. Maybe that's the difference. I don't know. If you fail to let them experience their consequences, you are feeding this monster. Yeah. You cannot demand competence while preventing their failure. Both people need to talk honestly about what's going on, not you're useless, not you're controlling. Instead, try something like, I feel like I've been I have become responsible for too much of your life. And it's changing how I experience you. Or I feel like you don't trust me to handle everything or anything without correcting me, and I've stopped taking initiative because I feel like no matter how hard I try, it's not enough. The goal here is to restore an adult to adult partnership. I can lean on you, you can lean on me. Sometimes one of us carries more, but neither one of us becomes permanently responsible for the other person's life. This has been a very good episode, Chris. Thank you. You're welcome. Part 4 of this, which is, I had this in 2 parts so that I could do 1 through 4 and then 5 through 8, because I was going to try to do 1 today and 1 tomorrow, but there's no way I'm able to record tomorrow. So again, a long live stream today. Part 4 of this is respect changes how your partner experiences you. Self-respect affects attraction. Pause for effect. Narrate that I'm pausing for effect, then repeat for effect. That shit's funny to me. That's why I keep doing it. Self-respect affects attraction. Because how you treat yourself changes the way that your partner experiences you, and it sets the parameters for how you are to be treated. Guys, if you love yourself, if you really love yourself and you've got self-respect, you're not going to tolerate disrespect. You're not going to tolerate less than behavior projected towards you because you love you. If you're married and somebody disrespects your spouse, what are you going to do about it? Some of you be like, well, they can take care of themselves. I'm not going to do anything. And they're adults. They can take care of themselves. Not me. Not me. You wanted the smoke, bitch. You're going to get it. So why would I not have that same energy if you disrespect me? Does that mean that I don't have enough love and self-respect for myself, and I put all of my value and self-worth on my family, and they have to provide that data that tells me that I'm worth something? There's something for you guys to think about. Self-respect is not arrogance. It's not hyper-dependence or pretending that you don't need anybody. It's having enough respect for your own life that you maintain standards, boundaries, interests, friendships, health, purpose, and an identity that belongs to you. People often enter relationships as a whole, like they are one person and with another one person, and somewhere along their identities meld and they become one unit. And that shit can be super healthy on a lot of facets, but you still need to have independence within that one, right? People get into relationships and they give up their friends, they give up hobbies, they stop doing things alone. Their opinions become whatever keeps the peace in the household. Their plans revolve entirely around their partner. Eventually, their spouse becomes their social life, their entertainer, their reassurance, their purpose, their confidence, and their emotional center. That sounds exhausting as fuck, just reading it. Your partner is supposed to matter deeply to you. Absolutely. But they should not become your identity. Self-respect shows up in what you tolerate. If your partner insults you and you stay silent because you're afraid they'll leave, you're teaching yourself to tolerate disrespect. You're teaching them that you will tolerate disrespect. You are teaching them that you do not love yourself enough to stop what's currently happening. Furthermore, if you're afraid that they're going to leave and you allow that, you're telling them that you don't believe that you're good enough to ever find somebody that loves you. If you keep moving your boundaries because conflict makes you uncomfortable, eventually that's where your self-abandonment will begin. Sometimes people may call that love. I just want them to be happy. I don't want to fight. It's not worth the argument. I can live without that. Maybe. But if you repeatedly surrendered things that mattered to you in order to preserve the relationship, eventually you're going to resent the person that you surrendered these things for, right? We can end up furious at our partner for things that we kept agreeing to. You do this long enough and you forget who the fuck you are. Forget why you're in the relationship, and then you realize that you have no boundaries anymore. This kind of speaks to people pleasing too, and I have a whole other document about people pleasing that we're going to get into. If you guys stay long enough, I have no idea how long I'll be live for today. I'm at an hour and a half. I haven't even made it through the first document yet, and I have 3. So, part 1, part 2, and people pleasing. A boundary isn't you're not allowed to do this. That's control. A boundary is saying if this continues, here's what's going to happen. I'm not going to stay. I'm not going to tolerate it. Whatever the consequence is for your boundary. There's a difference in that, guys. That's self-respect. That is not control. That is self-respect. You do this, I view it as a fucking problem. And if you continue to do it, maybe I'm not going to be in your life anymore, right? Maybe this is going to be the straw that broke the camel's back. If you make that threat, you need to be prepared to fucking follow through with it. But I respect and I love myself enough that this isn't fucking happening anymore. You cannot control how your partner behaves. You do have full control over whether or not you choose to participate in that behavior. Attraction changes when one person repeatedly demonstrates that they will accept almost anything to avoid losing the relationship. Not because vulnerability is unattractive, but because needing someone is unattractive. Because there's a difference between loving someone deeply and abandoning yourself to fucking keep someone around. There's also a difference between confidence and needing constant external proof of your worth. Your partner should reassure you sometimes, absolutely. They should tell you they love you. They should help you feel secure. That is part of intimacy. But they cannot be responsible for convincing you that you matter every single time insecurity shows up in your brain. If every disagreement becomes, do you still love me? If every rejected sexual advancement becomes, you don't find me attractive anymore. If every bad mood becomes, are you mad at me? Are you mad at me? I can tell you're mad. Can you tell me what's going on? Just fucking talk to me. You're mad. I can tell. I can tell you're mad. They're managing your self-worth for you. Guys, it's fucking exhausting. And it's too much pressure to put on another person. Like at some point, they're like, dude, what am I doing? Self-respect means your partner's love matters deeply, but it isn't the only thing that's holding you together. Sometimes I will need more. Sometimes you're going to need more. Sometimes reassurance absolutely matters. Sometimes your belief in me is what carries me through this difficult situation. You knowing that I am that motherfucker means that I can't let you down because of the belief that you have in me, so I'm going to push harder than I would have if it was just me. Sometimes that shit's healthy. Sometimes, most of the time in my situation, you telling me I can't do something, let's go, bitch. Like now I have fuel in the fire. You just hit the fucking nitrous button. The difference is that neither of us has made the other person fully responsible for who we are, and that's what a healthy relationship looks like. That's healthy dependence. Self-respect also means continuing to have a relationship with yourself while in a relationship with someone else. Do you know what you care about? What you're interested in? What you want to build? What matters outside of your relationship? What parts of your life still feel like yours? If you have no answer except your spouse, your children, your spouse or your children, it says a lot. Guys, it says a lot. Thank you for the gift, cacti chick. Hydrated. You know what? I think that's her for telling me to take a drink of water. Jenny, why are you calling me out? You can't take a break from work. Why are you calling me out? I struggle to take breaks from work. Self-respect means staying connected to yourself enough that there is still someone there to choose. Attraction changes when one person stops having any sense of self outside of the relationship. So maybe a question isn't, does my partner respect me? Maybe the better question is do I live in a way that demonstrates respect for myself? Because self-respect isn't something that you announce. It's visible in what you tolerate, what you protect, what you maintain, and what parts of yourself you refuse to abandon just to make another motherfucker comfortable. So I have 8 questions for you guys from parts 1 through 4 of this that is in the description of the video. It's in Chris's Corner in the Discord. I'm just going to read them. If somebody wants to post them in the chat, you can. I don't really give a shit either way. You can pause the video, whatever. Question number 1. If my partner met me exactly as I am today, would they still be attracted to the person that I am? Like who you've become? What responsibilities has my partner slowly taken over because I stopped carrying them? And what has that done to the way that they see me? Number 3, where have I confused supporting my partner with managing, parenting, rescuing, or controlling them? And have I helped them become more capable or dependent on me? Number 4 is what do I repeatedly complain about? What do I repeatedly complain that my partner doesn't do while making it difficult for them to do it without my correction or interference? Number 5 is what parts of myself have I abandoned to keep this relationship that I have secretly blamed my partner for, and what choices that am I continuing to make? Number 6 is what behavior have I tolerated long enough that I've taught both of us that my boundaries don't actually mean anything? This is a great way to set new boundaries. Number 7 is if our sex life has changed, have we blamed libido, stress, age, or attraction when the deeper problem is that respect and admiration has changed? And number 8 is when my partner watches how I handle responsibility, conflict, mistakes, pressure, and my own emotions, what are they actually seeing? That's the end of the first document, the parts 1 through 4. I wish my husband would watch y'all. He learned so much, especially from your book. Honestly, it would probably piss him off being how he is. I piss people off all the time. We have something in the Patreon community that we call the Matt effect. Matt wrote in an email that I read on Voice of the Broken. Matt's actually become somebody that I interact with on a daily basis. He's joined my men's group. He's done a full 180 of his life since writing in, but he wrote in earlier, might have been earlier this year or late last year. And like he ran through all of this trauma dump victim shit. And I was like, bro, all of this is on you. Like you're the problem in all of this, which means you can fix all of this. And he got mad and he left the community and he quit Discord. And a couple months later, he came back and he was like, man, I thought about it. I've journaled about it. And he's right. Like I am responsible for me. I can take accountability. I can fix myself, whatever. And, he's back now and he's a part of the men's group and he's being mentored and like he's become a massive part of the community. So for those of you who hear my shit that gets triggered or I piss you off, good. You getting mad about the things that I say says a lot. Like it says a whole fucking lot about who you are as a man or a woman, a wife, a husband, a father, a mother. It says a lot about your character and real shit. You may not like me And even more real shit, I don't give a fuck. Because I said what I said. These are my morals, my values, my core values, my non-negotiables, and the way that I see the world. And you may not see it the same way. That's okay. That's how we have real conversations and change each other's minds. If you guys get triggered by this shit, ask yourself why. We'll be here tomorrow. Be here next week. Well, I won't be here tomorrow because I got ceremony this weekend, but we'll be here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, saying the same shit that's going to piss you off all over again. But if you journal about it and you really become introspective, you might learn some shit about yourself. It'd be like that. I don't care. Did in the beginning. I was real worried about people liking me in the beginning. Now I don't give a fuck. Number 5, resentment slowly becomes contempt. For those of you who are familiar with the Gottman Institute, I'm a big fan of the Gottman Institute. Gottmans are the godfathers of relationship coaching. They are fucking amazing with the things. They have taught me and Peaches so fucking much. They have something called the 4 horses of the relationship apocalypse, and resent and contentment are 2 of them. So, it's important to be familiar with what these are. Resentment and contempt are not the same thing. Resentment says, I'm angry about what you've done. Contempt says, I've started thinking less of you because of it. Resentment usually has history behind it. Super chat. Hubris said, if you're on the fence about joining Discord, you should. Not sure if you can afford it. Maybe the question is, can I afford not to? Perspective. I love that. Damn. I need to hire him to make videos for me. Start fucking sales. We need a To Be Better sales team. He's going to be the fucking team captain. That was good. Damn, that was good. Can I afford not to? How's it working out for you not being there? Yeah. Resentment usually has history behind it. Promises that weren't kept. Problems that we discussed but never made changes. Feeling ignored. Repeated rejection. Carrying more than your share. Being lied to. Feeling unappreciated. Having the same fucking argument over and over again for 5 years and watching absolutely nothing change afterwards. One disappointment is usually not enough to fundamentally change the way that you see somebody. But disappointment on repeat, doing it often enough, creates a story about their character. You forgot becomes you're unreliable. You didn't help becomes you're selfish. You lied becomes you're a liar. You don't listen becomes you don't give a shit about anyone but yourself. Sometimes those conclusions are accurate. Sometimes that's the way shit is. Sometimes your conclusions are justified because of long-term patterns. Sometimes resentment has caused us to interpret everything our partner does through a negative lens. That's something that you need to look at, like deeply look at, because once you've put that lens on, everything that happens is immediately being diagnosed as right or wrong. And if you've got a negativity bias, you miss most of the right and hyperfixate on the wrong. Now we got a bigger problem. As Hubris said, it's perspective. Once resentment becomes contempt, we've moved from judging the behavior to judging the person. Now we're questioning their character. And if you remember what I said earlier about character, that's not something you ever want to experience. Contempt, one of the 4 horsemen of the relationship apocalypse, the Gottman describes it as particularly destructive to relationships. Contempt communicates superiority. It's not simply I'm upset with you, it's I'm better than you, right? This is where eye rolling comes from. Sarcastic comments, mocking voices, the little laugh when your spouse says something you think is stupid, correcting them in front of their friends. The Gottmans talk about correcting your partner. If your partner is telling a story and you're correcting the story, it creates a division, right? Just let them tell the fucking story. If they don't remember it right, who gives a shit? Bring it up later if you want to, but don't correct them in front of their people. Telling embarrassing stories about them at dinner time, talking to them like they're a fucking idiot. Then saying, relax, I'm kidding. Nah, no, you weren't. Contempt can be subtle enough that no one else in the room notices it, but your spouse does. They know that look, that sigh. They know the tone that you use when you're explaining something to them like they're a 5-year-old. They know when you've stopped arguing your point as equals and start talking down to them. You can be frustrated with someone and still respect them. You can think, I handled this terribly, or you handled this terribly, without thinking you're a fucking loser or I'm a fucking loser, right? I can be furious about something you did while still believing you're a decent, capable person. I can disagree with your decision without believing you're stupid. I can hold you accountable without humiliating you. Because once I consistently look down on you, admiration starts to disappear. And if admiration disappears, attraction changes with it. Contempt takes disappointment and adds superiority. Now I'm not simply frustrated by your behavior, I've begun experiencing myself as someone above you or somehow above you. Emotional intimacy requires some level of respect for the person sitting across from us. I have to believe your thoughts are worth hearing, that your feelings matter, that your experiences deserve to be considered. That has to happen. Like, that's healthy relationship shit. That maintains curiosity. That does not happen if you have a superiority complex or contempt. Don't have to agree with everything you say. Absolutely don't. But I cannot consistently treat you as beneath me and expect emotional closeness from you. Sexual intimacy can suffer for the same reason. If I spend the afternoon rolling my eyes at you, how can I expect you to desire me that night? You can't mock someone's intelligence, competence, body, income, parenting, emotions, or sexual ability and then expect them to become vulnerable with you sexually. Contempt introduces disgust into the relationship, and disgust is fucking corrosive. It just melts desire like battery acid. If your internal response to your spouse increasingly becomes, here we go again, pay attention. Just because you have an annoyed thought does not mean that your marriage is doomed. Everyone gets irritated with their spouse, but that irritation cannot become your default. So, do you notice what they do right anymore? Are you able to point out all of the things in the last 48 hours that they have done from a place of love and wanting to have a good relationship? Or are you only focusing on the fact that they didn't take the trash out, or that their socks are on the floor, or that they spent $20 on meatballs? I'm really hung up on that. You guys, you people who are not in Patreon, you guys haven't gotten that episode yet. And when you do get that episode, you'll understand my $20 meatball reference. I actually designed a t-shirt yesterday that had a $20 bill with a meatball on it. And I may actually make t-shirts over this shit because my flabbers were gasted, as they say. Can they make a mistake without it becoming evidence that everything is wrong with them? Can they tell you an idea without you immediately thinking why it won't work? Can they attempt to improve something without you mocking their effort? We've been through this before, right? Maybe they have, but can you give them credit if they're changing? Resentment can create a situation where the person who fucked up is no longer allowed to become anything else. They were irresponsible 3 years ago, so everything they do now is interpreted as irresponsible. They lied before, so every inconsistency becomes another lie. You guys get the point. Sometimes that's because trust hasn't been rebuilt yet. Sometimes it's because the offending partner genuinely changes and the resentful partner refuses to update their perception. You've created an impossible situation where you need them to change. They do change, but you refuse to see it, so they don't see the point in continuing to try, right? If there's a problem, address the problem, never humiliate your person. If you're on the receiving end of contempt, you have a responsibility as well. Self-respect doesn't mean screaming back at your person louder to try to control the narrative. It's refusing to normalize being treated with contempt. I'll talk about what I did wrong. I'll listen while you're angry. I'll take responsibility for my part, but I'm not staying in a conversation where I'm being yelled at, mocked, or degraded. Boundary, consequence. That boundary should always be enforced. Your partner being angry with you does not give you permission to treat them as if you are less than. Also, don't become so focused on their delivery that you refuse to examine what created the resentment beneath it. We talked about this real hard the other day, guys. If you were in a screaming match with your person because they asked you to do something and it didn't get done, and now you're arguing over 5 different things in the way that you were 6 months ago, and you never do the thing that the original argument started over, do you think that you are not going to have this argument again? Like, just because the argument shift doesn't mean that the underlying issue was resolved. So both people have to work. The contentious partner has to stop attacking the person's worth and start addressing specific behaviors. Instead of you're fucking useless, try, when you tell me you're going to handle something and I still have to remind you repeatedly, I stop trusting your word. Instead of you're a selfish asshole, try, when decisions that affect both of us keep getting made without considering me, I feel like I don't matter in this relationship. Repair requires one person to become different. The other person has to be willing to accept the change. So, can you still love someone you no longer admire or respect? Maybe. That could be a love you versus in love with you talk. Some of you are in love with people that don't deserve that love, which is actually what makes all of this so painful. You can love someone deeply and no longer respect the way that they're living. You can love the history you share, the family you've created, who they were, and parts of who they still might be, but love and admiration are not identical, and admiration has been replaced. When admiration has been replaced by contempt, love by itself may not be enough to create the kind of relationship that either person actually wants, and love alone is not enough. Love is not enough. Love needs to be a verb. It needs to be in action. It needs to be a choice that is made every single day. Part 6. What happens when one partner grows and the other doesn't? One of the harder things to experience in long-term relationships is feeling like you're moving forward while your person is standing still. Maybe you've gotten serious about your health, you're better with money, you've learned to communicate instead of losing your shit, you're taking responsibility for your career, habits, your emotions, and the kind of person that you want to become. Meanwhile, you look at the person beside you and see the same problems, excuses, and promises stacked on top of the same patterns that you've been complaining about for years. Rose in the chat said, I think people confuse love with care. They do. They absolutely do. There's a difference between loving all because all is one, and understanding that all is one, and having that and being in love with somebody. I can not want to see you thrown into a wood chipper or falling off of a cliff or stubbing your toe. That doesn't mean I'm in love with you. It just means that I don't want to see bad things happen for you or to you or whatever because of the life that we've lived. I don't want to see you cry, right? That would hurt me. That doesn't mean that I'm in love with you. So this can change. This can absolutely change the way that you experience your person. Super chat. $20 meatball on the front. It's not about the meatballs on the back. Credit to Dang. Yep. I don't know if I'm gonna actually make the shirt. I designed it and sent it to Peaches and she laughed. I think the shit's fucking funny. I think it's funnier when you understand that it's absolutely not about the meatball. It was about control. Yeah. I don't know if that shirt's gonna get made. I designed it. It's there. I just don't know if I'm gonna release it. Back to this. It's hard to maintain admiration for someone you repeatedly watch refuse to take accountability for the things that they have the ability to change. You can love somebody and still become disappointed in how they choose to live their life. You can understand their fears, history, and insecurities, and even understand the reasons while becoming exhausted by watching those reasons turn into permanent excuses. Guys, before you get too comfortable calling yourselves the one who's growing, you need to probably check your fucking ego a little bit. Personal growth can become incredibly self-righteous. You start going to therapy and suddenly everyone needs therapy. You start working out and now your spouse isn't disciplined enough. You start a business and suddenly their lack of ambition disgusts you. You stop drinking and now you're the judge. You start judging them every time they have a few beers. You learn about attachment styles and boundaries, and now every disagreement comes with a psychological diagnosis. You might be changing. That does not automatically mean that you are becoming better. You might be changing. That does not automatically mean that you are becoming better. Growth should make us more accountable to ourselves, not more obsessed with correcting everyone else. If all of your personal development has made you more judgmental, controlling, critical, and convinced that everyone else needs to live the way that you do, you got a whole lot of fucking growth left to do. Your spouse does not have to want your life. Maybe you want to build a company and they want a simple 9 to 5. Maybe you love the gym and they don't. Maybe you're constantly reading, learning, setting goals, and chasing the next thing while they're perfectly happy with a slower pace. Ambition is not the only measurement of growth. Neither is money, fitness, productivity, or how many fucking self-help books you've read. Someone can become more patient, present, emotionally available, confident, or engaged as a parent without making some dramatic transformation that everyone can see. They can become more content with who they are while you're still chasing the next version of yourself. Different does not mean stagnant. There's also a really legitimate problem with all of this, and that sometimes you're watching someone else who refuses to participate in their life. That problem is very fucking different than just not being on the same page right now. You are never going to grow equally at the same time. You can plant 2 banana trees side by side. One of them is going to do better than the other. You can get your nipples pierced. One is going to heal faster than the other one. Things do not always move in an asymmetrical pace. They keep destroying the finances and won't change their spending. They hate their job but won't look for another one. Their health is deteriorating while they refuse to address the behaviors that are contributing to it. They keep losing relationships because everyone else is supposedly the problem. They explode during conflict, apologize, promise to work on it, and do the exact same thing in a week or a month. At some point, that's just where they are right now, stops being a compassionate explanation and starts becoming a description of the relationship that you have chosen to stay in. You can't make someone want more for themselves. Pause for effect. Stern, narrate for effect. You cannot make someone want more for themselves. All of you who write in and say, how do I make my husband? How do I make my wife? You don't make anyone do anything. You need to be writing in about you. How can I become a better husband or a better wife? How can I become a better parent? Because the only thing that you have any control over in this fucking world is the less than 1/1,000,000th of a reality that you fucking experience that you are responsible for. You can absolutely encourage someone. You can support them. You can hype them up. You can tell them how their choices affect you. You can offer to work on things. You can change your own behavior. You can stop rescuing them from their consequences, but you cannot drag another adult into becoming someone that they have no interest in becoming. This is where contempt builds. This is you seeing somebody that just isn't on your level, guys. This is compatibility. Imagine listening to the same promise for 5 years. I'll get serious about the debt. I'll make the appointment, work on my temper, stop drinking, start helping more. I'll look for another job. I promise I'll take better care of myself. Eventually, you stop responding to the promise because you've learned that their words are bullshit. You may still love them. You still may want the best for them, but admiration takes a hit when someone's word means nothing. For all of you men who are listening to the chat right now, I've said this 100 times and I'll say it 100 times again. You bring 2 things into your marriage. That's it. 2. Your last name assuming you don't have a crazy feminist that wants their grandfather's last name for whatever reason, and your word. If your last name is not attached to crazy wealth and status, your last name doesn't fucking mean much. Not anymore. It used to be attached to clans and tribes, and like it showed where your position was in the hierarchy of your tribe. That's changed. Your word not meaning anything means your vowels don't mean anything. It means the covenant that you're making with your wife means nothing. If you are a man and your word means nothing, you have nothing in this life. So, we talk about losing attraction as though someone's body has changed. Sometimes nothing about their appearance has changed. You just spent years watching them avoid responsibilities, quit on themselves repeatedly, blame everyone for everything that's ever happened, or repeatedly choose comfort over things that they claim are important to them. You're looking at the same face, but you are not seeing it the same way that you used to. There's another version of growing apart that has nothing to do with irresponsibility that I want to touch on. Sometimes two decent, responsible people simply start building different lives. One wants children, the other realizes they don't. One becomes religious, one's not. One wants to build wealth aggressively, while the other wants free time. They value an easier moving life. One wants adventure and constant change, while the other just wants stability. One becomes deeply career focused, while the other wants family to become the center of everything. In these situations, neither one of you needs to become the asshole. Compatibility isn't just whether we love each other. It's also about whether the lives that we're trying to build or what we want for ourselves can exist in unison. I've outgrown my spouse is a phrase that I would be very fucking careful with. Guys, that speaks to ego. I've outgrown my spouse is superiority. It just fucking reeks of contempt. Maybe you've outgrown certain dynamics. Maybe your values have changed. Your priorities no longer align. Maybe you've become more responsible and they've become less responsible. Maybe you're just moving in different directions. All of those things could be accurate, and all of those things need to be addressed and deep dived. Where people get into trouble is when the growing partner turns the spouse into a project. Every conversation becomes coaching. Every problem becomes something to fix. Every complaint gets a book recommendation. Every disagreement becomes evidence that the other person hasn't done the work. Nobody wants to be married to their fucking life coach. Tell your partner what you're experiencing. Tell them what you need from the relationship. Tell them which behaviors are affecting your respect, your trust, and your attraction. Then allow them to decide what they're going to do with the information. Pay attention to what happens afterwards. If there's change, if there's not, whatever. Their growth belongs to them. Your decisions belong to you. Two people are almost never going to develop at exactly the same pace. Touched on that a second ago. There may be times where you're killing it and your spouse is barely keeping their head above water. 5 years later, it may be the other way around where they're killing it and you're fucking treading water trying to stay alive. Marriage needs enough grace to survive those unseen seasons without deciding to just leave the other person behind. A season becomes something else when there's no movement, no ownership, no effort, and no willingness to even acknowledge the problem. You're good. What time do you need that Zoom for later? 4:00. Okay. I'll get it done when I'm done with the live stream. You're welcome. How was the thing? Good. What you making? Will you make me a couple if there's any left over? Actually, never mind. I'll eat when I'm done. I'm going to wait until she's done with the air fryer before I get back into this. Whenever I sit here in silence, or we're waiting on comments to come through, or I'm trying to catch my breath and I'm staring at the camera, or I'm looking at the chat, I can hear Sweet Caroline in my head. Because watching me, watching you, that's funny. So you don't need to become the same people. You don't need identical goals, hobbies, careers, bodies, personalities, or definitions of success. But if one person is continually taking greater responsibility for their life while the other continually avoids theirs, resentment is going to kick your door in. Sometimes the hardest part is not realizing that your partner's changed. It's realizing that you've both changed and you're no longer sure that those two people want the same thing in life. Can I come get ice for my water if you're on a mini pause? You can do that anyways. Just come in and do it. Not a big deal. Number 7, you cannot demand respect, but you can destroy it. A lot of people confuse their role in a family with a reason that they should be respected. This is going to piss some of you guys off, and I'm good with this. I'm your husband. I'm your wife. I'm their father. I'm their mother. I provide for this family. I pay the bills. Neat. Like the buddy Jesus, right? That doesn't mean shit at all. Those titles tell us like what your relationship is to these people. It does not tell us anything about how you behave inside of those relationships. Being a father doesn't automatically make you a good father. Being married doesn't make you a good spouse. Providing financially does not tell us whether you're trustworthy, emotionally safe, honest, involved with your children, or a decent human being. You can make $300,000 a year and still be a fucking nightmare to your family when you walk through the door. There's a baseline level of dignity that we should give people because they're human beings. Your spouse should not have to earn the right not to be humiliated, screamed at, degraded, threatened, mocked, or treated like shit. Your children deserve dignity too. That's different from admiration. Dignity is something you owe as a person. I owe you as a person. Admiration is influenced by who you repeatedly show me you are. You can't walk around behaving however you want and then demand that the people closest to you admire you because you have a title. Respect comes from and grows through experience. When you say you'll do something, do it. When you fuck up, own it. Go ahead, you're good. When nobody would know you lied, you tell the truth anyways. When you're angry, you don't use your anger as permission to become cruel. When you're scared, you don't disguise fear as control. When something needs to be handled, you handle it. When you don't know what you're doing, can you admit it and figure it out? Guys, people are watching all the time. Your family, your kids, your friends, they're watching. They see what happens, the way that you conduct yourself when things don't go your way. That determines a lot on whether people fear you or respect you or trust you or know that you're competent. Anybody can appear strong when everything is going their way. What happens, though, when your wife disagrees with you? What happens when your husband tells you something that you don't want to hear? What happens when your kid embarrasses you in public? What happens when money gets tight? When somebody challenges your opinion? What happens when you realize you're wrong? Those experiences teach people who you are. If a disagreement makes you intimidating, your family may comply with you. Don't confuse that with respect. Fear can create obedience. Control can create compliance. Neither proves admiration. Same goes for constantly reminding everybody what you provide. Do you know how hard I work for this family? Do you know how much I suffer? Right? They probably do. I'm willing to bet they know. I'm willing to bet that they've heard it over and over and over again. I'm willing to bet that every time something doesn't go your way, that's your go-to, because you get to dangle this thing that you do over their head. Guys, never be the dangler. And don't let people do that shit to you either. Don't ever allow somebody to hold some shit over your head like that. That is a superiority thing. It's an ego thing. It's disgusting. It's fucking disgusting. Provision matters, right? Working hard matters. Sacrifice matters. These things need to be appreciated. You should show appreciation that your husband works the way he does. You should tell your wife that she's a good mom if she's a stay-at-home and taking care of the kids and everybody's alive and nobody's on TikTok abusing their children and Lindsay Clancy, right? Like, if you've got a woman who fucking loves your kids and is not pouring ice on them or making jokes about tripping and throwing them into the wood chipper, like, you need to acknowledge that shit. Like, you got a good one. You would think that that's the bare minimum, like not wanting to harm your child, but apparently that's become pretty fucking common now. The amount of fucking things that I've seen on TikTok is just absolutely insane to me. I've had to not use that app the last few days. I've had to minimize a lot of my social media because some of y'all need to be put in jail. Those things should be appreciated, but if every contribution eventually becomes leveraged, you've turned generosity into responsibility into a debt. This is a new debt collection system. You need to avoid saying or being with people who say things like, I pay for everything, so you should listen to me. I do everything around this house, so nobody gets to question me. I sacrifice my career for the kids, so you owe me. That's not respect. That's you keeping receipts for the opportunity to cram it in someone's face. The way you treat people when you're frustrated has more influence on how they experience you than the speeches that you give. The speeches that you give about your values, your non-negotiables, whatever. You can tell everyone that family comes first, but if your family gets the most impatient, distracted, angry version of you, while everyone outside of the house gets your patience and charms, they experience a behavior that's different than the mission statement. Your children especially are going to notice inconsistencies. If you tell them honesty matters and then you lie, right? They see that. Tell them to control their temper while you're punching holes in the wall, right? Tell them to respect their mother while you call her stupid. They see that shit. You don't get to demand that they ignore what they're seeing because you're dad or mom. Moms don't think you're off the hook either, right? Being their mother does not mean that your children should accept manipulation, guilt, humiliation, emotional volatility, or having every disagreement interpreted as betrayal. After everything I've done for you has destroyed so many fucking relationships between parents and children. Sacrifice does not purchase permanent authority over another human being. Respect also gets damaged when we were incapable of apologizing. Some people believe admitting they're wrong costs them authority. Usually it's the refusal to admit what everybody in the room already knows that cost you that. Your kid watched you lose your shit. Your spouse heard what you said. Pretending that it didn't happen does not preserve your credibility. Dad was wrong. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have spoken to you like that, right? There's accountability there. I was defensive when you brought it up. You're right. Shouldn't have done that. I said I would handle it and I didn't. That's on me. There's strength in being able to say those things without adding a fucking paragraph of excuses or explanations to it. Or trying to convince the world that it's not your fault. Boundaries contribute to respect too. People often think being respected means being agreeable, liked, or easy to get along with. Sometimes maintaining self-respect means disappointing people. If you can say no without becoming hostile, you can disagree without becoming disrespectful. You can refuse to participate in something without trying to control what everyone else chooses. A person that has no boundaries can eventually become resentful because they're constantly saying yes while internally screaming no. Then one day everybody gets blamed for taking advantage of the sacrifices that they repeatedly allowed and accepted. If something isn't okay with you, you have a responsibility to fucking say so. I'm gonna get into people pleasing after this document. So, what about when you guys hear respect is earned? That's a really convenient way or convenient excuse to allow you to treat your partner like shit. I'd respect you if you gave me some respect. That sounds like it's being used to justify contempt to me. Your partner doesn't need to become impressive enough to earn basic decency. You don't get to roll your eyes every time they speak, mock them in front of friends, call them pathetic, embarrass them in front of your children, attack their insecurities, or speak to them like they're beneath you because you've decided that they are not living up to your standards. If you've lost respect for your spouse, address why. Deal with the fucking problem. All of this shit that you're doing that is justifying your reason to not respect them is you making a decision. That's your choice. You could instead choose to address what's happening and have conversations. And then if nothing changes, you can choose to not be in that relationship anymore. Right? You choosing to be disrespectful and treating your person this way makes you vindictive. It makes you petty. Real shit, this makes you an ugly person, right? You're choosing your suffrage because you're not fucking happy and neither are they. Self-perpetuating cycle. What the fuck are you doing? Right? Deal with your shit. Contempt is never a solution. Humiliating your husband isn't going to make him stronger. Belittling your wife isn't going to make her more confident. Publicly embarrassing your spouse is not accountability. Using sex, affection, money, parenting, or the children as weapons because you're disappointed is not going to fucking rebuild anything. Impossible standards destroy respect as well. If your spouse improves and you move the goalpost, if they take responsibility and you remind them of who they used to be, if nothing they accomplish is ever enough because you've already decided that they're beneath you, stop pretending that you're trying to motivate them. Some couples get trapped in that shit. One person has legitimate reasons for losing admiration. The other begins changing. The hurt partner has become so attached to the old version of them that every improvement is dismissed. You're only doing this because I complained. Sometimes, maybe, yeah, right? Because nobody wants to hear you complain. However, sometimes people hear that they hurt you, they hurt the marriage, and they've made a decision to change. Wasn't that the fucking point? You're only doing this because I complained. The change has happened. Now you're mad that the change happened because you had to complain to get it done? The point of the complaint was to get the fucking change. They make a complaint department. Fucking suggestion box is you complaining about shit. The computers are fucking slow. We need more RAM. That's a complaint. Trust doesn't have to return immediately. Admiration doesn't have to magically reappear. Nobody owes instant forgiveness because someone behaved well for 2 weeks. But if we've decided that another person can never become more than their worst seasons, why are you wasting your time? And if your person is saying if you are the person saying my family doesn't respect me, maybe you need to do something to become more respectable. Because you can change you. And maybe that'll change their opinion, but you can't just fix their opinion. Maybe you spend a little less time demanding an attitude adjustment from them and start looking in the fucking mirror. Part 8. This is the last part of this document, and then we got questions, and then I'll take a quick break. I'll probably make a bathroom break, and then we'll get into the people-pleasing document. This is actually a shorter document than the rest of them because this is the anyways, this is, can you rebuild the attraction after you've lost the respect? This is this coming through, right? Everything wrapping up. Yes, attraction can absolutely come back after respect has been lost, but you cannot talk someone into it. You can't guilt, negotiate. You probably aren't going to fix it by fucking more or buying flowers, booking vacations, or scheduling a date night every Friday. Those things can absolutely support an already healthy connection. They do not fix the reason why someone stopped admiring you. You guys need to be honest. You need to be really fucking honest about what's currently going on in order to understand what has changed. Attraction does not mysteriously disappear. It responds to the relationship. If you're the person who has lost your partner's respect, the instinct is often to ask, what do I need to do to make them attracted to me again? Wrong target. Start becoming someone you respect again. If you've been irresponsible, become responsible. If your word hasn't meant shit, stop making promises that you can't or won't keep. If you've become physically unhealthy through years of neglect, start taking care of yourself. If your spouse has been managing your life, start carrying your own responsibilities. If you've been emotionally volatile, learn how to handle discomfort without making the entire house pay for it. If you have become isolated and completely dependent on the relationship, rebuild friendships, find new interests, create new hobbies, develop a fucking purpose for your life. If you've violated trust, tell the truth. Not for 3 weeks, not for a couple of days, but long enough that nobody has to keep reminding you. A lot of people try to repair their relationship through the announcements. I'm going to change. I'm serious this time. I promise things are going to be different. Those are announcements. Words are wind. It's fucking hot air. Your partner has likely heard this shit over and over and over again. So why do you think they're going to believe you now when there's been no change behind that wind in the past? So stop announcing, start living. If you said you were going to handle something, handle it. If you screwed up, own it. If there's a problem that you've avoided for years, you need to fucking deal with it. If you need help, ask for it without handing the responsibility or the problem over to somebody else. Respect comes through evidence. Consistency. When you're tired, when you're pissed off, when doing the wrong thing would be easy. That's when people start to believe in change. If the trust has been damaged, don't demand recognition every time that you do something right. I've been doing everything you asked for 2 months and you still don't trust me. Yeah, well, you've spent the last 5 years teaching them that you are untrustworthy. Do you really think that the last 2 months are going to fucking change anything? Give it some fucking time, guys. Repair does not run according to the timeline of the person who caused the damage. You've given that up already. However, there's work for the partner who lost the respect as well. If someone genuinely changes or is changing, you eventually have to decide whether you're willing to experience who they are now instead of only who they were. That doesn't mean forgetting what happened. Touched on that a lot, so I'm not going to go hard here. It doesn't mean immediately restoring trust. It doesn't mean pretending 2 months of improvement cancels 10 years of dysfunction. It means allowing the new evidence to be presented to the court. If your husband, it just went way tiny. If your husband used to be irresponsible and has consistently become responsible, but every mistake gets still met with, well, that's who you've always been, there's no path forward for them there. You have already sentenced them. You're not willing to see them in a different light. If your wife spent years shutting down during conflict and has learned to stay present, but every attempt she makes is dismissed because you never cared before, no path forward. Eventually, you have to stop punishing people for the past. If you don't, there's no way to rebuild the foundation. You cannot keep your person on probation forever. There's also a difference between remembering and weaponizing. You should remember patterns that hurt you, but repeatedly dragging old failures into unrelated arguments is not repair. The person who caused the damage needs to take accountability. The person who was hurt needs enough openness to repair to eventually become possible, right? If either person refuses their part, the relationship will fucking end. It likely will not end fast enough. Most of you will stay on hopium and wishing that there would be change and that things could go back to the way they were and all of that shit, and you stay way longer than you need to. Something to think about. Competence can help restore attraction too when you start handling your life. Experiencing your spouse as capable can change the relationship dynamic. You stop feeling like their parent. You stop anticipating the disasters. You're no longer carrying the mental load of two adults. There's room for partnership again. Boundaries need to be rebuilt and enforced. Start saying what you actually think. Stop participating in conversations where you're being degraded. Stop rescuing your partner from every consequence. Start taking the time for your friendships, your interests, the things that you've neglected, and stop begging for affection every time you feel insecure. Right? If you guys have noticed, all of this is about what you can do and what you can hope your partner does. No matter which side of this you are on, this is only about what you are capable of dealing with in your life. So, some practical repair. Start an honest conversation about what actually changed in the way that you experience each other. Talk about respect. Ask if admiration was damaged and listen without defending yourself. Pick specific behaviors instead of promising a personality transplant. I will be better means nothing. I'm taking responsibility for these 3 things starting this month. That can be tracked. That is fucking data that we can measure, right? I'll communicate better is vague. So instead you'd say, like, if I'm flooded during an argument, I'll ask for 30 minutes. I will then come back at the agreed time. That type of communication gives your partner something that they can actually experience. They can also track that data. Did he show up 30 minutes later or was it 45? Did he come back or did she come back with the same fucking attitude? Was there actually a nervous system reset that shows me that they're no longer flooded? What happened after that time frame? We are constantly collecting data, guys. So stop requiring your partner to manage your improvement. Deal directly with contempt. No public humiliation, mocking, or eye rolling as communication. No using vulnerability as ammunition. No attacking someone's entire character because you're angry about the behavior. You need to rebuild separate parts of yourselves. Create low pressure connection. Then give it time. You need to remember that you probably didn't lose respect for each other in one night. You accumulated experience. Rebuilding requires the same thing. You cannot negotiate someone into admiring you. You cannot demand desire because you've checked enough boxes, but you can look hard enough at the way you're living, the way that you're loving, and the way that you're handling your responsibilities. Also, the way that you show up in the marriage, right? And to do it without people applauding you. You need to give the relationship new evidence. So the questions that I have here for part 8, 5 through 8. When I'm angry with my partner, am I still angry about their behavior, or have I started believing that I'm better than them? This speaks to superiority. Number 2 is, what has my partner repeatedly asked me to address that I've talked about changing more than I've actually changed? Number 3, have I genuinely outgrown certain patterns in our relationship, or have I started using growth as a reason to look down on my partner? Number 4, what specifically caused me to lose respect or admiration for my partner, and have I ever clearly told them what those experiences did to me? Number 5, if my partner has genuinely changed something that I've complained about, have I allowed that change to count? Or do I keep relating it to the person they used to be? Number 6, when I am demanding respect, where am I demanding respect while behaving in ways that makes me harder to respect? Number 7, have I used my disappointment as permission to mock, humiliate, belittle, control, withdraw from, or punish my partner? And number 8 is, what would my partner need to consistently experience from me? And what would I need to consistently experience from them for trust, respect, admiration, and attraction to have any chance at returning? Greg KB, thanks for subscribing. I appreciate it. That's the end of that document. We're going to get into people pleasing in a minute. I have to find that file. I also need to take a quick bathroom break because I've been live for 2.5 hours. Bagels are beeping. Guys, I am going to put this on Be Right Back. I'm going to mute everything. I'm going to hit the bathroom, come back here and check the chat, and then get into the next document. There is currently 153 people here. I expect you all to be here when I get back. Don't leave. People pleasing's next. Damn, I stepped away and I was like, y'all better be here when I get back, and 10 of y'all left. That's all right. I'm going to sit here and eat these muffins in front of y'all. How's everybody's day going? You guys enjoying the live stream so far? We're 2 hours and 25 minutes in. I know that she buys these little bite things for the kids. I fucking love these things. And I love that it's an easy snack. Oh man, chat's moving. Just wanted to say thank you for doing these. It's been a great way to start my day at work. I really appreciate you and Peach. I love that. Thank you. Listening at work, yeah, unfortunately, and it started getting real bad past few years. I don't know what it's in reference to. I missed half of it having to dispose of 2 rattlers. We had a couple rattlesnakes on our property this year. It's wild that we found so many of them. Listening while doing laundry stuff. These lives have been extremely beneficial for you. Hell yeah. Rough week, but I've been enjoying these. I'm glad you enjoy it, Chris. Dude, you're on fire this week. Thank you. Appreciate that. These have become a nice routine. I'm loving it. I enjoy longer podcasts in the morning. Bum, 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 bum. I'm loving it. I'm vibing, listening at work, loving the morning documents. I actually sent someone to my husband to listen to. Hoping it finds value. Going good. Drywalling and listening. Oh my God, I hate drywall. Oh my God, I fucking hate drywall. Hanging it, cutting it, hanging it, placing it, no problem. We get into mud and all of that dust, man. I had never done drywall before ever in my life. And when we moved my tattoo shop from a 950 square foot unit into double that space, and I did the entire build out for that shit. And I swore to God, I would never do drywall again, ever. I am not fucking with drywall dust. I don't care if you're wearing a respirator, you're still breathing that shit. Yep. I hate that. I fucking hate drywall. Good for you. I mean, if you don't mind it, that's awesome for you. People like you are the reason that people like me don't have to do it. I'll gladly pay for that shit. Gladly pay for it. No, that's the end of I went to a break. I had to pee. Oh, okay. The children told me you were done and they were running around. No, I had to take a break. I had 3 documents today. I'm 2/3 of the way done. The Veil Dream Tincture is getting here today, and the wife can't wait to try it. Maybe tonight or this weekend for sure. I'm glad you guys are excited about the tinctures. Peaches put a lot of time into designing those things, and I put a lot of time into the extraction process. Feeling a bit called out today, but I'm loving it. Personal growth is never bad. That's right. If you feel triggered or called out by what I'm doing, ask yourself why. About to have a company lunch for my first day. Last day. Oh, for your last day? Okay. I have to check to see if my tincture came. All of those tinctures left our post office Monday, so you guys should all have that. Should have all been there by now, but today must be because it's 3-day shipping with priority. Hopefully that stuff all comes. All right, guys. So, people pleasing, when being nice becomes self-abandonment. I did not fix the latency. I can't change it while I'm live. It doesn't work that way. I'd have to shut this down and restart everything. And I'm not doing that because there's 143 people watching. So, you guys asked for this yesterday, and I told you that I didn't have any information, and I did some research and read some things, and this is me attempting to give you guys something without a shit ton of information on it. So this may suck. And if it does, I'm okay with it because, very little timing. People pleasing gets mistaken for kindness because from the outside, it can look exactly the same. You're helpful, you're agreeable, you're generous with your time, you don't want to inconvenience anyone. You're the person that everyone calls because they know that you'll show up. But kindness and people pleasing does not come from the same place. Kindness says, I want to do this for you. I love you. I got you, right? People pleasing is more from, I'm afraid of what will happen if I don't. The fear, that fear might be obvious. Maybe you're afraid someone will get angry or reject you, leave, criticize you. Maybe they'll think you're selfish. You don't want anyone disappointed in you. You don't even want you don't want tension in the room. You don't want someone thinking badly about you. You want the good husband. You want to be the good husband, wife, friend, employee, etc. You want to be the person that nobody ever has a problem with. So you become incredibly good at managing everyone else's experience of you. And while all of this is happening, you are giving up and ignoring yourself. So what people pleasing actually is. People pleasing isn't simply doing things for other people. Healthy relationships require generosity, sacrifice, compromise, and sometimes doing shit that we don't particularly want to do or feel like doing, right? If your wife is sick and you cancel your plans to take care of the kids, cancel your plans so that you can take care of your kids, that's not people pleasing, not automatically anyway. Sometimes it's just being a good partner. The motivation underneath of the behavior is what matters when it comes to people pleasing or just doing the right thing. So imagine two people get the same phone call. A friend needs help moving Saturday. Both say yes. One thinks absolutely. They've been there for me 100 times, and I genuinely want to be there for them the way they show up for me. The other person thinks, fuck, I really don't want to do this. It's my only day off, but if I say no, he's probably going to think I'm selfish. One of those is generosity and reciprocity. The other is fear. People pleasing often becomes a way of managing other people's reactions. If I can keep you happy with me, I don't have to experience your disappointment. If I'm useful enough, you won't reject me. If I'm agreeable enough, we won't fight. If I never become difficult, maybe you'll never have a reason to leave me. And that might work for a while, right? It can also create a life where everyone knows what they want from you and have no fucking idea what you want for yourself. So part 2, where people pleasing comes from. Maybe you grew up in a household where anger was unpredictable and you learned to read dad's face the moment he walked through the door. You knew from the way that your mom closed the cabinet whether tonight was going to be peaceful or miserable. You become very good at reading everyone else because understanding others' emotional states helped you know how to proceed to remain safe. Maybe love felt conditional. Good grades got approval. Being helpful got attention. Being easy made adults happy. Having needs, however, created problems. Disagreement was interpreted as disrespect. Saying no brought guilt, punishment, withdrawal, or anger. Nobody had to sit you down and teach you that it is your job to keep everyone happy. You figured that shit on your own because it meant you were safe. Guys, I believe that people pleasing stems from fear and anxiety. And I say fear and not just anxiety because there's a whole lot of insecurity and fear. You are trying to manage or regulate other people's experience of you so that you are safe. That stems from fear. And a lot of that I do believe comes from childhood trauma. I truly believe that people pleasing is something that is instilled in us before we're 8 years old. I do believe that it can happen later in life as well, but I think that it starts earlier than as a child. And a lot of that is from, your parents failing you. So, maybe you became the funny kid, the responsible kid, the mediator, the kid who never needed anything, the kid that everyone described as so mature for your age. Sometimes that maturity was genuine, or maybe you were learning not to become another problem in a house that already had enough of them. Then you grew up. Now, nobody is threatening you because you don't want to go to dinner. Nobody is abandoning you because you can't help them on Saturday, but your body still responds to someone else's disappointment like something dangerous is happening. So before we beat the shit out of ourselves for being people pleasers, understanding where the behavior came from can help. It probably started in childhood. It probably served a purpose at some point. However, that strategy and that purpose that help you navigate childhood can absolutely fuck up your adult relationships if you never update your firmware. Part 3, how to recognize people pleasing in yourself. A lot of people pleasers don't think that they're people pleasers. They think they're easygoing. I don't really care. Whatever you want. I'm good with anything. Maybe that's true. But do you really not care? Or have you gotten so accustomed to ignoring your preferences that you don't even check anymore? I know that I said that people pleasing is instilled in childhood. People pleasing can also be instilled in marriages. If you are a man who believes happy wife, happy life, and everything in your environment is purely about making sure that they are taken care of and your needs no longer met, you're a people pleaser now. At some point, you're going to feel like you're less than a man. You are not who you used to be. At one point, you had hobbies, you had goals, you had love, you had all kinds of things that made you feel good about life. And now you feel like you're nothing more than the provider that breaks his back for a paycheck to make sure that everybody has everything they need. And if you don't do that, somehow you're not a man, right? Like, this is learned behavior, and this is how you become a shell of a person. Ladies, you do the same shit. You guys do it on a different level because you do this from a voluntary position without there being conflict or ugliness, because you'll become a mom and that's all you'll be. You have to have an identity of being more than just a mother. So pay attention what happens. Sorry. But do you not really care, or have you been accustomed to ignoring your preferences that you don't even check on you anymore? I wanted to reiterate that point. Pay attention to what happens after you say yes. If you regularly agree to things and then immediately regret it, collect that data. If you say yes to someone's face and complain about it on the drive home, that's also data. If you constantly feel overworked, underappreciated, taken advantage of, or resentful while rarely telling anyone no, those things are connected. People pleasing also shows up in excessive apologizing. You apologize for needing something or disagreeing, for asking a question, for taking someone's time, for having an emotion, for saying no. Sometimes you apologize before you've even done anything. It shows up when somebody asks, where do you want to eat? And you genuinely struggle to answer because you're immediately calculating what everyone else would prefer. As I said earlier in this live stream, sometimes when somebody goes, what do you want to eat? You tell them. And if they're like, I don't want that, be like, you asked. That's what I want. There's nothing wrong with that. If you guys are somebody that has very different diet restrictions or needs, then the person who has the stricter diet needs to pick 3 or 4 places, like I said, and then give somebody an option of those 3 to 5. You both still get a choice. Everyone's happy. Somebody gets their fucking cheeseburger, right? Like, so I love cheeseburgers. It shows up when someone is upset and you can't function until you know they're okay again. You over-explain decisions that don't require permission. You soften every opinion. You change what you think depending on who you're talking to. You avoid difficult conversations until you're furious. You agree in the moment because disagreement feels uncomfortable. Then you become resentful because nobody seems to care what you want. However, they may not actually know what you want because you haven't told them. You failed to speak up. You chose to remain silent and passive because you wanted to keep the peace. The cost of being the easy person. People pleasing doesn't just cost the people pleaser. It makes intimacy harder because intimacy requires honesty. Somebody in the chat said, I hope this is posted later because I can't take the notes right now. Guys, the live streams that I do that are public are on the YouTube channel all the time. Just got to go over there and look for the video that was posted today and watch it. Yeah, it stays up. Your partner needs access to the real you, not the version constantly scanning their face before deciding what you are allowed to think or how you're allowed to proceed. If your spouse asks, are you okay with this? And you say yes when the answer is no, you've given them false information. You've lied. Call it what it is. You fucking lied. You omitted data that could help them make a better decision. Now they're making decisions based off of false information. And months later, you may resent them for the decisions that you agreed with. because you didn't tell them. Now you've created a cycle. I always do what you want. I asked if you were okay with it. Well, what was I supposed to say? The fucking truth. You were supposed to say the truth. That doesn't guarantee that they would have liked it. They might have been disappointed. You might have had an argument. You might have needed to compromise. But now at least there's two people being honest and trying to solve the problem. Self-abandonment happens in these small moments. You laugh at something that hurt your feelings. You have sex when you didn't want to because you're afraid they're going to be upset. You lend money that you can't afford to lose. You cancel your plans because somebody wants your time. You stop seeing a friend because your partner doesn't like them. You say it's fine when something is not fine. Do that long enough and resentment builds up. It's a mistake to blame everyone around us for everything that we have given away. Some people absolutely will take advantage of someone who never says no. That's their responsibility. But if we've spent 10 years telling everyone whatever you need, you got to acknowledge your participation in that shit. Number 5, people pleasing can become manipulative. Ooh, some of y'all ain't going to like that. Bet you're thinking, what the fuck? How? Right? Because people pleasing means I'm the nice one. I'm just trying to get along, trying to keep little me safe. You can be genuinely caring and still develop manipulative patterns around people pleasing. I do everything for everyone. Okay. What did you expect in return? Sometimes the answer is nothing. You just genuinely wanted to give. Sometimes the real answer is I expected them to appreciate me. I expected them to do the same for me. I expected them to choose me. I expected them not to be angry. I expected them to know what I needed without me asking. Now you've created an agreement that neither one of you knew existed. Collecting them receipts. You gave freely on the outside while privately attaching a condition to it. That is manipulation, guys. People pleasing can also be used to avoid honest conflict. Instead of telling someone you're angry, you become extra helpful while resentment builds. Instead of setting a boundary, you hope that they'll notice you're overwhelmed and stopped asking. Instead of requesting what you need, you give them what you wish they'd give you, and you hope they notice. It's not clear communication at all. Eventually, the people pleaser gets so full of resentment that they explode. And the thing that you hear is, after everything I do, after everything I've given you, right? I never say no. You wanted to, though, and you didn't want to give up of yourself. You'd made that choice, and now you're angry about it. You're taking it out on me when you should be angry at yourself because of the decisions that you made, continue to make, and how you choose to live your life because you're operating from a place of fear and anxiety. You also have to remember that people in this situation, the person that hears after everything I do, has no idea that they owe you a debt because you failed to talk to them about it. If you want healthier relationships, you have to stop making people guess the terms of the agreement that were never actually discussed. Number 6, why saying no is so fucking hard. Most people know how to say the word no. For a lot of us, it's the first word we learn. The difficult part is tolerating what happens after we deliver the no. Someone could be disappointed. They might ask why. They might think you're selfish or get angry. They might try to guilt you. They may not understand and demand explanations. Sometimes they may genuinely be hurt by your no. You people pleasing is trying to prevent that experience. That's why learning some magical perfect boundary script is not going to fix any of this. You have to learn to say no, right? And you can do it in the kindest, healthiest, most respectful way possible. And there's still going to be people that don't like your answer. That's normal. You will survive that. You are not a kid anymore. You are an adult with adult life and adult experience, and you have the capability of disappointing somebody and moving on with your life. a lot of people don't like me. I'm okay with it. I don't care. Most of the time, I'm completely unaware that they don't like me until somebody brings it to my attention that I'm disliked. Did you hear that so-and-so said such and such? Nope. And I don't care, because until you said something just now, it did not impact my life at all. So they can keep not liking me and doing what they're doing, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because my life is good, and fuck them. The difference is I'm okay with that, right? I have learned that not everyone is going to like you. You don't like everyone. How is it impacting the lives of the people that you don't like? You're holding on to shit that doesn't fucking matter to them. It's only affecting you, right? So no is especially difficult when you've built an identity around being good. If being a good person means nobody's ever disappointed in you, you're fucked. You cannot be an honest adult and keep everyone happy. Sometimes being a good husband means telling your wife something she doesn't want to hear. Sometimes being a good wife means refusing to enable your husband's behavior. Sometimes your kids are going to get furious with you. Your friends may become unavailable, or you may be unavailable to them. Someone's disappointment is not evidence that you have done something wrong. Something to think about. Number 7, boundaries without being an asshole. When people start learning boundaries, sometimes there is an overcorrection. They spent years saying yes to everything, discover that they can in fact set boundaries, find the right wording, and suddenly no one gets to inconvenience their life at all. And they get aggressive about it. Relationships, families, friendships, they all require sacrifice. There will be plenty of times when we choose somebody else's needs over our own because we love them. A boundary is what gives that sacrifice meaning, because we still have the choice. Maybe I don't want to help you move Saturday, but you're my brother. You've always shown up for me. I decide the relationship is worth it, so I'm going to go help you move. That's very different than believing you have no right to say no. Boundaries don't have to be super difficult. Sometimes boundaries looks like, no, I'm not doing that. Sometimes it just looks like no. And when they say why, be like, I just gave you the explanation. No. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't owe anyone anything. If you don't want to do something, that's enough. No. You can also say, I can help you for an hour, but I can't stay all day. You still have set a boundary. You're still helping. There's a decision, right? Multiple decisions there. I'm not comfortable lending money. You don't have to say anything beyond that. Well, don't you trust me? That's not what I said. What did I say? You heard me, right? Well, you said you're not comfortable lending money. I said, right. I didn't say I was not comfortable lending you money. I said I'm not comfortable lending money. But if you take it that way, that's your perception. Cool. I need to think about it before I answer. Great boundary right there. That gives you time to process if you really want to do this versus answering on the fly. I already have plans. Another great thing. It's kind of deflective, but whatever. I don't want to. And I just can't seem to get over that. Fucking love that. That last one, I don't want to, terrifies people, especially people pleasers. You guys, I don't want to. You think I can't say that. I can never say that. You believe that your no needs like a full-on explanation and an apology, and like there's a whole lot that goes to that shit. It doesn't. It doesn't need an apology or an explanation. I don't want to. No. Phenomenal statements. You can explain yourself if or when you want to. Explanation is part of a healthy relationship, but notice when you're explaining because you want the other person to understand versus explaining because you desperately need them to approve of your decision. Learning to say no and simply leaving it at that is fucking powerful. You might look like an asshole from time to time, but if people think you're an asshole, they're less likely to ask you for shit. That's a fucking win. Number 8, learning to tolerate disapproval. You don't become comfortable saying no by waiting until saying no feels comfortable. You practice. You start with the small things. Someone says, where do you want to eat? Pick something, be decisive. And if they don't want that, say, I do. Someone asks what movie you want to watch. Tell them. Someone asks if you like something or not. Be honest. If you don't like that, say, I don't like that. Someone asks you for a favor and you don't have time, just say no. Don't immediately add 6 paragraphs explaining why. Just say no, then pay attention to what happens inside of you. Do you feel guilty? Is your heart racing? Maybe you immediately want to send another text or give the explanation. Actually, never mind, I can make it work. Don't do that. Let it sit. Simmer. Someone can be disappointed in you and it will be okay. We've been raised that I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed is oh God, that stabbed me in the heart. It's manipulative. We have been taught that disappointment is a bigger slight than anger. You can feel anger and disappointment to me. My life is going to continue on the trajectory of where my life is going because I am in control. I am in the driver's seat of the Chrismobile. Sometimes there's people in the passenger seat. That's cool. We can hang out together for a little while, but I'm fucking driving. I am the GPS, the navigator, and I control the radio. You don't like that shit? Get your own fucking car. Someone can misunderstand you and you don't always have to chase them down and correct their perception. What is that actually going to solve? They may view you differently. Before the way they viewed you, however they viewed you, did it really impact your life in any great way? Maybe that's something to examine. Someone can think you're selfish. It's cool. You can think that. You're learning that another person's emotional reaction does not automatically create an emergency that you are responsible for solving. Healthy people usually adjust. People in your life that genuinely love and care about you will understand and be glad that you're finally standing up for yourself. They might be disappointed, but they should respect your answer, right? The people who benefited most from you having no boundaries will react very differently when you stop allowing them to treat you like a doormat. Fuck them. Number 9, become someone who isn't afraid to say no. The goal isn't to become someone who doesn't give a shit about anyone. We don't need fewer generous people. We need generous people who know when they're choosing generosity. We need people who say yes and actually mean yes. If I tell you I'll help you, I want that yes to come from me. I don't want to spend the entire time secretly angry because I didn't have the courage to say no. If I tell my partner something is okay, I want it to actually be okay. If it isn't, I want both of us to honestly say so. If someone asks something of me that violates my values, exceeds my capacity, interferes with something more important, or simply isn't something I'm willing to do, I want to be able to say no without turning their disappointment into evidence that I am now a bad person. That takes self-respect and it takes practice. For some of us, the first few boundaries are going to suck. You're going to second guess yourself. You're going to worry that you're becoming selfish. You're going to wonder whether you should have just said yes. And that is okay. You're changing a pattern that has probably somehow protected you for most of your life. Eventually, you start discovering that underneath of the people pleasing, there may have been something else buried for a long time. Your preferences, your opinions, your limits, values, your actual yes, your definitive no, and your relationships get a chance to become more honest because the people who love you finally get a relationship with you, not just the version of you designed to keep them happy. Contrary to popular belief, the opposite of people pleasing is not selfishness. It's being able to care deeply about other people without constantly betraying yourself. Right? So for all of you who are people pleasers, if you are terrified of saying no, if you're worried about being selfish, if you're worried about other people's opinions, you really need to understand why. Depending on the person, like if your boss is dependent on your hours or dependent on your raise or the future of your career, I can see the want to be in good standing with them. But are you willing to suck them off to be there? Because that's what you're doing. You're selling yourself. You're prostituting your wants. You're disappearing or getting rid of all the things that make you you to simply exist around other people. It feels like spiritual prostitution to me. So I got 5 skills that you can practice to stop being people pleasers. These are all in the description of the video. Again, all of this has been posted to Chris's Corner in Discord. Number 1, practice the pause before saying yes. People pleasers often answer before they've even checked with themselves. Stop giving an immediate answer. Use let me check and get back to you. I have to check my schedule. Give me a little bit of time to think about it. Then ask yourself, if I knew they wouldn't be upset with me, would I still do this? Right? That's the question. Number 2, practice small, unnecessary no's. Don't start with the hardest person in your life and your biggest boundary. Get your reps in. This is muscle memory, and you do this with low-stakes situations. Decline an invitation. Turn down something you don't want. Tell someone you can't help them this weekend. Pick the restaurant you actually want instead of saying whatever you want. You need experiences where you say no and discover that the world doesn't fucking come crashing down because you did. Number 3, stop over-explaining your boundaries. You are allowed to simply say, I can't make it Saturday. Instead of providing your entire schedule as evidence for the defense, people pleasing often turns explanations into requests for permission. You are giving away your power. Give context if it's appropriate, but practice allowing a reasonable no to stand without trying to convince someone that you are justified in saying it. Learn to tolerate someone else's disappointment is the next one. This is probably the hardest skill of all. Setting a reasonable boundary and then not trying to immediately rescue the person from your decision can be really hard. Let them be disappointed. Let them disagree. Let them think that you were unreasonable. Notice the anxiety in your body without changing your answer to try to make it disappear. Their feelings can be real without becoming your responsibility to fix. You are not responsible for regulating another person's nervous system. That shit is on you. The last one of these is say the small truth before it becomes resentment. Stop saying I'm fine when you're not. Stop agreeing to things and then complaining about them later. Say I'd rather not. That bothered me. I actually want something different. I can help, but I can't do it all. People pleasing survives through tiny dishonesties meant to keep the peace. Start practicing honesty while the issue is still small enough to talk about it calmly. That's the end of that. I have something else I want to really quick get into, but for those of you who are people pleasers that are going through a divorce or a breakup or a no contact split, you've written people out of your life, whatever. This is the optimal time for you to learn how to not people please. We tell people all the time that in between your relationships is when you do the work. You have all this data of who you were in the relationship, the things that you did that upset you, new non-negotiables, new behaviors that you're not willing to accept. You have all of this data that you now have to work through. You have to file it away. These are great times to write new core values and new non-negotiables. It's time to figure out what it is that you want from your life, to start moving in the direction that's going to give you the things that you want. This is also a perfect time to stop people pleasing. You have no one in your life at this point that you fucking owe anything to. So you can develop new relationships. You can find your footing. You can fucking grow a spine. You can tell people, no, there's nothing there that's going to impact your life in a negative manner. This is a great time to really start figuring out or remembering who you are. Yep. Those are my documents. This is the first time I've done it. I mean, either one of us have done a 3-hour live in a very long time. I've been around 2 hours for the last 2 weeks. What'd you guys think of today's live stream? 135 people. Man, I got some watch hours today. If all 130 people watch for all 3 hours, that's a good day. I hate that I fucked the latency up, because now I have to wait for you guys to get caught up in the chat for the things that I'm saying. Fine, fucking irritated, not explaining. There you go. My husband is the GPS. I'm the driver. Teamwork. LOL. Don't ask me how to get there. Just tell me where to turn and how fast I can go. That's funny. Don't forget to like. Yeah, guys, please like the video. Just share it, subscribe, all that good shit. That really helps the YouTube. If you guys can share the content, like if you guys find value in this shit, put it to your Facebooks. I know that we ask you guys to do this shit all the time. I cannot stress to you how important it is to share our fucking content. Share the podcast, share the YouTube videos, share the clips, the shorts, whatever. Get this shit to as many people as can see it. That's what's going to keep Peaches and I doing this content, guys. It's what, you know, puts me at my computer for 8 hours a day fucking writing documents so that I have something to talk about the next day. Agree, 1 year and a few months of no contact has changed the way I look at people. Still do people pleasing, just more controlled. And I have chosen my time over other people now. So then I mean, at that point, are you still people pleasing or are you making choices? You nailed this people pleasing document. Holy crap. I appreciate that. I was very worried that was not going to be good because I put it together last minute last night. Especially the tips to improve. Absolutely meant. You're welcome. Just shared it to my Facebook. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. We're going to ceremony tomorrow morning. We leave early and drive to Orlando for ceremonial weekend and meeting up with a bunch of other people. And I am so ready for the community aspect of this, guys. I am so fucking stoked. Even though we're hosting and not actually taking the medicine, it's going to be a really good weekend. I can't fucking wait. Definitely still have work to do with my people pleasing and feeling like I have to explain myself over everything. You don't have to explain yourself to anything. Who do you actually owe an explanation to? I believe that the need to explain comes from your parents going, why did you do that, out of anger and yelling at you? And now your nervous system is going, oh God, why did I do that? And I have to give the right answer, because if I got the wrong answer, then what, you know? And then you get to a point where you're an adult and you have to feel like you have to constantly explain yourself so that you don't get punished or hurt. It's just a lot, man. It's a lot. Sent the roommate videos to my friend group because I'm tired of hearing them complain about each other. That's fucking funny. That is funny. I literally just told someone, no, good for you. I was shocked when I started healing with this and realized majority of people are okay with a simple no. It really blew my mind. Most people don't give a fuck. Most people are asking for something because they need it. And if you just say no, they say okay. Like, I don't know. I also think that we are, I think that we see ourselves more than other people do. Like when you wear something that you feel uncomfortable in and you think everyone's judging you, most people aren't even looking in your direction. That is your own insecurity making that your perception. And when you realize that other people are probably going through the same thing and you have never thought like, oh my God, I bet they're uncomfortable in that shirt. Like it's kind of humbling. What you doing, babe? Work stuff. I'm getting ready to go tell the kids that I need to start their schoolwork. Okay. I'm about to wrap up, so. Okay. Yeah, very self-reflected. I really enjoyed today. Looking forward to ceremony someday, hopefully next year. I'm feeling so attacked, but it's in a good way and giving me things to work on. Good shit. I saw somebody ask what ceremony is. Peaches and I have a entheogenic church that does plant medicines. And we have ceremony this weekend. You guys can find that at theawakenedconsciousness.org if you're interested in that. Found myself surprised at those that resisted when I stopped people pleasing. Some expected pushback, others did not expect it. Most people are too absorbed in themselves to notice you. That is 100% factual. Everybody believes that they are the center of the universe, and they are the center of their universe. And a lot of people believe the people around them are NPCs. They just don't focus. You know what I mean? So it's a thing, totally a thing. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up. This has been 3 hours. If you guys enjoyed the content, please share it. If you want some unfiltered, unscripted, raw content, go to patreon.com/to be better and join our Patreon. The Discord community's there. The chat can tell you that it's absolutely amazing. And with that being said, guys, thank you. And I will see you Tuesday morning at 8:30 a.m. for whatever document I decide to do next. Have a good day, guys.